car to 43187 or call 08600 60,000 today. Licensed insurer and FSP. T's and C's online. Standard rates apply.
The Talking Point on SAFM. Weekdays, 9 a.m. till midday.
The biggest trope of the post-antebellum period is one that you all, and even some black women, have kept in the back of our heads. The angry black woman. You see her at school, at work, in public. She's feisty, she has an attitude, she pops her gum, she shakes her neck. But the biggest trait of the angry black woman is that she has no dignity. And this is a trait that the media commonly depicts black women having. Carolyn West, an associate professor of psychology at the University of Washington, Tacoma, explains the reasoning behind depicting black women without dignity. She says that by depicting black women as not knowing their own worth, media can actively mitigate their concerns and consider them unnecessarily voiced. And as much as I hate to admit it, it worked. Because a lot of black women or people of color in general have often undermined their own abilities. And this is what Pauline Clance and Suzanne Imes call imposter phenomenon. It's when a member of a marginalized community undermines their own success because their community is not associated with that success. And I think a lot of students of color can understand that, because often we're told that we can or we don't typically measure up to the success of our white peers. We find it hard to stand up to offensive comments that would be considered taboo if anyone but us, the recipient. Or we're scared to talk with propriety because talking right is equated to talking white. But it sticks with us. I'm sure you've heard of the Supreme Court ruling on affirmative action. But let's not forget, affirmative action was created to help women and people of color. So if justice for women continues but not people of color, then it's just a repetition of the feminist movement. And it's even in the media. I've seen so many posts saying that major and famous black women like Megan Thee Stallion, Serena Williams, Michelle Obama are men. And as I thought of that, I remember that in the late 1800s, activist Sojourner Truth once flashed her breast to someone in the audience when they questioned her gender. And it's insane to think that 165 years later, black women are still out here having to try and prove their femininity to society. So, while I mainly spoke of black women today, my main message to you all is that if feminism wants to be feminist, it can't just be Western feminism. It can't just be white feminism. It can't just be neurodivergent exclusioning feminism. It can't just be heterosexual feminism. It can't just be cisgendered feminism. Because like it or not, the magnitude of trans women being killed in this country right now is not going anywhere, let alone shrinking. Adding intersectionality to feminism doesn't make it complicated. All we have to do is listen, because trust me, if you can listen to a couple more voices, I promise you can change a couple million more lives.
Wow. Efrata Tesfaye is a social activist, and she is our opening motivation as we get into the talking point for this Wednesday, the 21st of August. I'm Khomotso KG Mwekete. I'm in for Cathy Mohlahlana today on the talking point on SFM. As we're leading the conversation, please join in whenever you want to on our studio line 086 000 2032, 086 000 2032. The SMS line 41391. 41391 would come to you though at around 50. The WhatsApp line 061 410 4107, 061 410 4107. On X we are at SFM Radio, and please hashtag SFM Talking Point. We open the lines for you on the program between now and 10 o'clock. There's a lot always we could talk about. After 10 o'clock, in fact, that opening motivation rings true to the conversation we're going to have after 10 o'clock in our Citizens Corner. We're going to have a conversation around harassment in public spaces. In South Africa, we often speak about harassment in the context around the workplace or in relation to sexual abuse. We hardly ever speak about how this behavior can take place in public spaces spaces like malls or transport nodes or even restaurants, we hardly talk about how harassment in a public space may lead to stalking and other social norms. Over the weekend, a young man on TikTok went viral after a visit to a local restaurant where a young woman, on TikTok went viral after a visit to a local restaurant where she experienced harassment while having lunch after politely declining the advances of a man. She tried to get the attention of the staff of that restaurant to change tables and move away from the perpetrator. However, the man kept on following her and went as far as following her to the next restaurant. She had no way of reporting this to authorities in the mall. Imagine a world where a woman can walk down the street, run errands at a mall, and even enjoy a meal in a restaurant without harassment. To unpack the discussion further and unpack some of the solutions to protect women and girls in public spaces, we're going to have a conversation with Lisa Vetten, who's a gender researcher, and Tsepo Mojapilu, who's a director at Mojapilu Attorneys, Zweli Maslela, senior mentor at Kamohelo Foundation for Boys. Actually, let me tell you, men, catcalling is not cool, and it's actually not a cool thing. You have to find new ways to get the attention of women, because what you've done up to so far actually is harassment. We're going to talk after 11 with Dr. Vilenkosi Matsebula, the Senior Lecturer in Development Finance at Stellenbosch Business School, about financial inclusion and servicing the unbanked populations in South Africa, because according to the 2023 PayFast report, 19 million South Africans do not have a bank account. While South Africa has some of the most advanced banking systems globally, we face challenges to accessing financial services, from onboarding of new clients at branches to zero-rating banking applications on devices. In the last 7 years, there's been newcomers in the banking fraternity that have placed an emphasis on mobile money. So we're going to talk financial inclusion and servicing the unbanked. I couldn't believe 19 million people in South Africa don't have a bank account. So we're opening the lines for you. What do you want to talk about? It's shocking to me, the issue of business extortions. And I know that we're zoning in today on the Eastern Cape because, the police are in the Eastern Cape and they're helping in the Eastern Cape. But from what I'm hearing, it's quite prevalent in most parts of the country. And radio allows you a degree of anonymity, unless, of course, you're recognized by somebody who knows your voice personally. But if you've been a victim of business extortion, I'd love to hear from you, to hear how you dealt with it. Because in my mind, I'm thinking, if somebody comes to extort your business, right, to say, "Sifuni mali, if you want to keep operating here, give us whatever," they're bound to come back if you give them money, right? In my mind. And of course, it's still in many ways for me the Malema week. I was watching online, a lot of people still talking about it yesterday. In fact, the Ongama Mdimka, the political analyst, one of the things that he said on the X platform is that he sees the EFF not doing well in the local government elections of 2026. When are we going to local government? 26, right? 2026, the local government elections of 2026. He sees their gains going even further down than how they did at a national level because of the current challenges in leadership that they're facing. And of course, MK Party is constantly in court, sometimes with itself, because today the fired members of parliament or former members of parliament, are going to court to try and get their jobs back, because they're saying some of them had to quit their jobs, or some of them, were working, some of them have bonds, some of them bought cars, etc. And Zondo, Chief Justice Raymond Zondo, Mkhwelo was being lauded, of course, at a dinner last night by members of the legal fraternity, because the 31 of August marks the end of a 27-year career for him in the legal fraternity, and ends one most recently as Chief Justice of the Republic. Many things really that we can talk about. Many things. So I'd love to hear from you on 086 000 2032, 086 000 2032. We're back with your calls in a short while.
The world's best cooking show is finally here. MasterChef South Africa Season 5. You'll meet 20 talented home cooks from around Mzansi, Noma Upumali, and no matter your favorite dish, see if the chefs can handle the heat in the kitchen in a race to be crowned MasterChef South Africa. Every Saturday, 7:30 p.m. only on S3 Channel 193. MasterChef South Africa, the world's best cooking show, proudly sponsored by Pick n Pay.
SAFM is celebrating its 88th birthday, and what better way to celebrate than with you, our loyal listener. We will be giving away 8,800 to 10 lucky listeners during the month of August. To stand a chance of winning, stay tuned to SAFM and SMS the keyword SAFM88 followed by your name to 41391 and listen to the station throughout the day, where you could be selected as a winner. SMSs are charged at R1.50 per SMS. Free SMSs and SMS bundles do not apply.
Happy birthday, happy birthday, happy birthday, happy birthday.
Call us on 086 000 2032.
20 past 9 on the talking point on 086 000 2032, 086 000 2032. We are on WhatsApp 0614104107. We are on X. We are at SFM Radio, and you can hashtag SFM Talking Point if you want to talk to us. David in Maritzburg. Why do top cops get full pay even when they don't perform? Hi, David. Morning.
Yes, morning, Kechi. No, my understanding is that the police function to combat crime, but you find that in areas like Umtata, people are suffering from extortion, whereas we have senior management that is deployed there, but they are failing to perform their core function. So why do they keep on enjoying these lucrative salary packages that they are enjoying if they are failing to perform? Like, for instance, you are a radio personality, you know your job. So if you fail to do your job, I think whoever that you report to, be it the CEO, will be able to review your performance agreement. And again, the issue of having a station commander being deployed in that police station for years, but he or she is failing to combat crime. Why don't they rotate them to say, you've been here in the Eastern Cape police station, then after 6 months you are moved to KZN, so that they don't get used to become friends with the criminals, which I suspect is happening in most police stations.
So you think that's the problem? They've gotten too familiar, and they themselves are friends with the criminals.
Yeah, because that's what you hear from people. The people are scared to report, because if you report, the criminal will know as to KT was in the police station to report about me. So you get attacked. So if maybe they get to rotate them to say you'll be here in this police station maybe for 6 months. In Cape Town, for instance, you are rotated to KZN after 6 months. You know.
How does it work in the police? I don't think you're rotated in the police. I think you work in a. I'm not sure actually. You work in a specific area. If you're working in the Eastern Cape, you're working in the Eastern Cape. You don't get moved from, for example, from the Eastern Cape to KZN. I'm not sure how it works.
I don't know, but the Minister of Police and the Commissioner, they can be able to clarify these things. But we need to zoom in their performance agreements as well as to what is it that is contained in their, because for me, they are failing to perform their duties, most of them. But they keep on enjoying these lucrative salary packages, you know.
Yeah. Either way, I think it must be very frustrating to own a business in that area, because what's the point of owning a business if because you literally are owning a business now for the extortionists? Because I'm assuming if you pay one, you've opened the door. You're going to have to pay all of them.
And it's catch-22, because if you don't pay, they'll come and rob you or they'll shoot you.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
So the option is to close down.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you, David.
Yeah.
Thank you. Johnny in Klerksdorp, a SADC meeting. Hi, Johnny. Morning.
Fine, Mama. Kunjani?
Ngiyaphila baba.
All right, man. Listen, I wanted to talk about two things, but the first one, I wanted to comment about this thing of SADC. The other one, I wanted to comment about the mining industry. But I think that I will withdraw the one of SADC. Let me talk about this one of the mining industry. Mama, I'm staying in Klerksdorp whereby there's a lot of mines here whereby people can get employment. But only to find out, you'll find that mines are closed, there's no employment, and there's a mine here between Klerksdorp and Hartbeespoort with the name of Uranium 1, of which this mine was taken over by Shiva, the family of the Gupta. And what we have done, 2008 there was a strike, the mine was closed. So, myself, I'm one of the leaders who was a spokesperson when we were taking for the mine to decrease the salary. It is the problem that mine was closed. Now, we wrote several letters to the president as far as last 2 weeks back they were talking about Kolokota of the ANC, about the creating of employment. I emailed the document, explained everything about them. No one is phoning, no one is answering. Secondly, what I have done, I consulted with the liquidator, the lawyers who's having the document of that man. They told me something that is very, very critical now. Can I say it?
I'm listening, Papa.
Hello.
I'm listening.
All right.
Yes.
The liquidator and the mine and the lawyers who are having this case, they told me face to face that the city council of Matlosana refused to sign a document that the mine must be open, so that the investors must open the mine. We need your rescue. That the liquidator, yesterday I was with him, and I was discussing this. How can we find investors to come and open this mine so that people must get employment? And then he said, I must make an appointment with the NN for asking why he didn't want to sign a document to give people employment.
Johnny, I'm going to allow you to tell our producers off air, and then I'm sure they can find a way to guide you properly, okay?
I will be very much pleased if you can do that. And
yeah, just stay on the line. Just stay on the line. Stay on the line. Stay on the line. Anonymous in Mthatha, you're a victim of a business extortion. Hi, Anonymous.
Khamoto, how are you doing?
I'm good, thank you.
Yes, thank you. I will remain anonymous
Please.
for obvious reasons.
Yeah,
I am an actual victim of this. I started operations 2022 in May, and things have been going fairly well. And some months later, towards the end of 2022, there were people that kept on coming, and it got so bad that we know who these people are. We know them name by surname. They know us. They know where we live. You go to the police. I've got case numbers. We've done almost every avenue. There is no camaraderie between us and the police. And I think I do understand the spokesperson that says there really needs to be a change in that police structure because it's really not assisting us. Nobody's going to the cops because we know why.
So wait. So when you say you know their faces, you know their names, you know their surnames, I'm going to assume you've opened a case.
We have. I have once. But to be quite honest, I received a threat.
You received a threat from who?
So I was told that that I went to the police station.
Mm-hmm.
So I am 100% certain that the police are working with these extortionists.
Sure.
And it's a fact. We are not here saying things because we feel like saying it. It's a fact. It's what we live. A lot of people are relocating. A lot of businesses are moving.
Sure.
It's even worse for the foreign nationals, the Pakistanis, because with them, they started with them. I think because they corresponded so much with these extortionists that it filtered down to us. I'm not saying we're better, but I'm just saying that it started there and now it has become this full-blown fire. And unfortunately,
so wait,
the only solution for me is for these police to move.
So you're saying to me, if as you're saying you've reported to the police,
Yes.
you have no faith in the current police that are in your area to do anything for you?
I mean, we have reported, like literally. I personally went myself.
Okay.
And
So now that there's new police that are coming in to help, do you have faith that they might be helping you? That they will help you?
Remember what the NIU is doing now. They're just putting in extra police staff.
Extra.
So the old ones
are
still
staying.
there. So there is still police that I honestly will not have to mention by name, but we know what's happening and we know who tells them, and it's just this whole circle of friendship that you really cannot break. It's really bad, and it really is bad, Khomoto. But we're not saying, I'm not sure.
So it sounds though, and I will say it because at least I'm not the one who's affected. It sounds to me like it's a criminal network that is almost driven by the police.
I mean, even yesterday, I listened yesterday, even the justice system is involved. You take it as far as going to, it's really bad. I mean, I just don't have the words to actually tell you the length and how bad it gets. But me giving an example of when I reported in end of 2022 and receiving a call that the so told them that I went to tell the cops, what help? Who's gonna help me? I knew from that point I never went on to go report again. People have left. People literally die. I mean, there's someone who died 2 weeks ago who got shot to own the business in Mthatha that I know personally because he didn't want to pay. And it's this constant thing that's happening.
How much have you had to pay up to now?
What happened now, they said they wanted 5,000 rands a month. They've increased it. So at some point I did pay. And then now I'm on a process of trying to move to East London, which is a town 2 hours away.
What kind of business are you in, if you don't mind me asking?
I might not have to reveal because
okay, that's fine.
Will know. But I think it's I'm one of the few people that do that.
Sure.
So I'll have to now find ways to move, and everyone's moving. There's someone who I know personally who's issued us a letter on the 13th, which was this week or last week. She's the only ophthalmologist in Mthatha. She actually left as well because she says this extortion is too much and they at times become so unreasonable. It's there. I'm really certain with you that us as people who live here, I mean, I came here 2022, I saw a business opportunity, I didn't know that it...
Can I ask you to hold 1 second while I go to the news headlines, Anonymous? Okay. Yeah. 9:33, here's Eva Chipa with the news headlines.
In your news making headlines for this hour, the Eastern Cape Premier Oscar Mabuyane has welcomed the National Police Commissioner's deployment of extra police officers to the province to clamp down on escalating extortion. This comes as several businesses in the area close their doors in light of escalating extortion. In other news, the Police and Prison Civil Rights Union POPGRU has called on SAPS management to establish proactive mental health wellness programs. This follows a murder-suicide incident involving 2 Gauteng traffic inspectors at the weekend. And lastly, looking further afield, the U.S. Secretary of State Anthony Blinken says there is no more time to waste to reach a Gaza ceasefire deal. I'll be back at 10 with more news. For SFM News, I'm Eva Chipa.
Call us on 086 000 2032.
9:34. We're on the call, on the phone with Anonymous, who's being extorted, who's a victim of business extortion in Mthatha. Anonymous.
Yes, Kumar.
So you're thinking of moving your entire operation now to a different town. What impact is that going to have, though, on the business, the actual business that you're in?
Well, definite case. I mean, there's people that come from all over. You service a lot of the rural towns this side, and people do have, a level of commitment and being loyal to your brand. So when you do move, obviously it's business. When you move to a new area, you need to now wait for those months before it starts to pick up again. You're really never going to be sure if it's going to have the same traction as it has. So I really have no faith, but I'm happy with the intervention that is currently at play. I'm just not sure how sustainable it's going to be.
Yeah.
But I think with me and everyone else whom we share a network with, it's if they can just change the police structure, that's all.
Yeah, and the person that passed 2 weeks ago, the business colleague that passed 2 weeks ago, how close to you were you to them, and do you know whether they were paying or not?
He was paying heavily, and then he stopped. So
he was killed because he stopped?
He stopped, yes. So now it's the same process. He went to report. And there's been so many. I think in the past year or so, I'm not even joking, there's been over 20 deaths, or way over, for the same people. So it's just that now when people pass on, no one can actually be sure that it's extortion. But word around the streets actually say that he just couldn't pay the extortion.
Sure.
We know these extortionists. We really know them. We know the flashy cars they drive. We know just how they go around bullying people. You can actually walk into a mall, a center. There's a center called, I'll just give you the name because there was Savoy.
Yeah.
Where they just stand outside Nando's because they even extort out at Nando's. So they can stand at Nando's and you see these guards standing outside. When they are there, no one is able to shop until they are done collecting the money, then they leave.
Yes,
That's
because you did say
hectic
everybody even knows what they look like.
Yes, because now they send their own people, but there are times where they come themselves. So now they are guarded by these police guards. They wait outside. You need to wait until they're done collecting money, and then they leave. So everybody knows them. We really know them. It's just now.
Sorry. Did you say they're guarded by police guards when they?
No. They are own guards. So they probably hire their own people. I don't know what the process is. But I can almost assure that the police are very much involved in it because when we reported end of 2022,
it's a network.
When in the end of 2022, when we did report, we actually did get threats that we just shouldn't do that. We got literal threats that what are we doing? And who else is to report that we went to the police and told them?
Yeah.
It's the cops.
Sure.
It's not easy. But we remain hopeful that it will change anytime. So I am happy that of the traction that it's getting through the media, but I'm also really not hopeful that it's something that is going to have much impact in the long run because unless they change the police. That's all that's going to help us, at least for a couple of months.
Listen, Anonymous, thank you for letting us into your experience, and I hope you live, and I hope you're able to continue doing business in a place where you are safe. Thank you so much for opening up to us.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Younger, in Cape Town, you're also wanting to talk extortion.
Good morning, KG, and to the listeners of SAFM. I've been listening a lot about these stories about extortion, and the gentleman, I really sympathize with him because he is in business and he's being extorted. And what he said about the community at large knowing about all of these people, we really do know about these people. And the police are involved. Like I'm working in one of the most dangerous industries in the country, which is the taxi industry. So some of the times we do come across these guys, you see. And
but how? When you say you come across them, how do you come across them?
We meet at bright places, and we know what they do, you see. And sometimes they are used to do other crimes other than extortion. You know what I mean?
No, I don't.
They are used to also assassinate. You know.
Sorry, say that again. What did you say?
They are used to eliminate competition. You see, in terms of conflict. If another business owner has a problem with the other and they need to eliminate that one, they would also be used for those kind of things.
What is elimination?
To kill. To kill. You see, and the most dangerous thing about this is that the head offices of these extortionists is mostly behind bars. You see.
So it's a network that's being driven by people who are in prison.
Who are in prison. That's why it's very difficult to combat, because most of the people who are really heavy in this are the people that are already in prison, and they give out orders. You see, when they come to collect in my street where I stay, when these guys come to collect in the businesses there, the cops will never show up, because the cops are told to back off. They know that day and that time is the operation. You will see even 15-year-old boys carrying machine guns, broad daylight, walking into these shops, and then they collect whatever that they come to collect. And if people refuse to pay, like the gentleman has mentioned, they just kill them. You see, so having more boots on the ground from the police will never solve this issue, because that will just
So what will solve this issue according to you?
I think two people already mentioned this. If there was a way to rotate the police, because if the police are working in that specific area and the gangs are also operating there, obviously the police will fear for their lives. Because they will be told that they will be eliminated because they only came there to work, and these guys are operating there, and their business is based there. So the only way, if there could be a way to rotate the police, I think that could make a change. And I was very disappointed yesterday. I'm not sure if it was a show or...
Younger, do you want to hold? I have to go to break, and then we'll continue with you after a short while. Sure.
18 teams are back on the hunting ground. No one wants a loss or a draw. They are all searching for maximum points in every encounter. This is the Bundesliga. Football as it's meant to be. Do not miss out on the 2024-2025 Bundesliga season. Catch the action live on Saturdays at 6:30 p.m. Live on SABC Sport on DTT Channel 4 and at your fingertips on SABC Plus. Also available on sabcsport.com. Hashtag We Love It Here. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
So why should I use We Buy Cars if I want to sell my vehicle?
Because We Buy Cars buys cars.
But will I get the right price?
Of course. We Buy Cars buys thousands of vehicles and knows exactly what every vehicle is worth. Their buyers deliver exceptional service and pay you immediately.
And how do I know what they'll pay for my vehicle?
It's easy. Visit webuycars.co.za or use the We Buy Cars app. Follow the simple steps and voila, you'll know your car's value in no time. We buy cars. Quick, easy, the best.
SAFM is celebrating its 88th birthday, and what better way to celebrate than with you, our loyal listener. We will be giving away 8,800 to 10 lucky listeners during the month of August. To stand a chance of winning, stay tuned to SAFM and SMS the keyword SAFM88 followed by your name to 41391 and listen to the station throughout the day where you could be selected as a winner. SMSs are charged at R1.50 per SMS. Free SMSs and SMS bundles do not apply.
Happy birthday, happy birthday, happy birthday, happy.
You could get a great deal on your car insurance premium when you call Outsurance. Be like 53-year-old Neo, who pays only 1,059 rand to insure his white 2023 Ford Ranger XLDC with Outsurance. Get a quote now. It's easy. SMS out to 30754. That's out to 30754 now. Licensed insurer and FSP, T's and C's online.
Call us on 086 000 2032.
9:44 open line on the talking point. We largely have been beset with calls from people who are talking around issues of business extortion, particularly in the Eastern Cape. In Cape Town, we've been talking though to Younger. Hi, Younger.
PG. So I was saying I was very disappointed yesterday, and I understand why people are frustrated on the ground. Because I'm not sure if it was you or Sister Kina, like I was saying, that was interviewing a lady in the morning that was a spokesperson for the police, and they said that they were not mandated to deal with extortion. And then a couple of hours later, they were interviewing someone from the Hawk, and even the Hawk said that they are not mandated to deal with extortion. So where are the people supposed to go? So people are not reporting these crimes because we don't have hope in our justice system and the police, and we know that they are involved.
Yeah, I think that the onus rests on Lebo and Kanya to get the police minister here. Thank you, Younger. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. But, Joel Komokopong, you also want to talk extortion. Hi, Joel.
Good morning, ma'am, and how are you?
Hi, I'm well, Joel.
I'm the first-time caller.
Welcome.
I wanted to take a part in this conversation. How do these things stop it according to my views? This thing it started by the political parties. I'm not going to mention the names of the political parties. Normally what they do, a youth league will say they're having a rally somewhere. So they'll go to the houses and ask for donations. Now, amongst them, if you gave them, now amongst them they will come and they will tell you a lie, saying that now we are asking for donation for a transport to go somewhere. There's a rally somewhere, or maybe a contractor comes to the township. They'll go to him and say, no, we are the youth league of this organization, or we are a women's league of this organization, what. We are having a meeting with the premier somewhere. We are asking for a donation. Now, among them, there are thugs. That's where this thing started. So they took it from there because now people were donating this money out of a good heart. So it started like that. Because I remember they used to come to my house saying, no, we are the youth league, we are going somewhere. Then I started that, but now, you guys who belong to this party, this party is supposed to transport you and take you and buy you food and whatever that you want. We are not responsible for giving you money to go to your rallies and to go to see your premiers, your churches and all those things.
No, I hear you, Joel. Thank you so much for your call. Charlie in Koffiefontein, you want to do a detour and go to the GNU. Hi, Charlie.
Hi, KG.
Hi, Charlie.
Yes, ma'am. I just love the
the GNU. You know why? The things the previous Minister of Home Affairs was fighting for, the same minister we have now is doing the same thing. We don't hear the DA complaining. The Helen Suzman Foundation is absolutely quiet. Nothing. You remember that issue that said that Mr. Mohlahlana wanted to block the IDs because they are fraudulent. Guess what? Your favorite poster boy wants to do the same thing. Now there's no outcry from the DA. There's no outcry from the NGOs. The courts are quiet as it is. Mr. Mohlahlana has said that the backlog that they have regarding the visas is not mainly for visas of highly skilled people. It's those ones who are said, they call it notarial contracts. You say that, no, I'm married with this person, so can this person please get papers because we are married and she's staying there. But when Home Affairs goes to your address and go and check, there's nothing. These are all the processes that Mr. Mohlahlana has done, tried to correct.
Charlie, the opposition has changed. You know that, right?
That's what I'm saying now. This is the same fight, but now the people who are against Mr. Mohlahlana are now with Scriber. The same NGOs who took Mohlahlana to court are dead quiet now.
Yeah.
The court. I just want, because Scriber has given them 30 days. I just want to find out if what the courts will be. So you see that this is not basically about what Mohlahlana has been doing. It's about who's in charge and who's got
at a given time.
Yeah,
I hear you.
Because they are doing the same thing, but now they are no longer fighting for the same thing that Mr. Mohlahlana has fight.
I hear you. Yes. We'll see what happens. Thank you, Charlie.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. Morning, my sister. I'm reading a text that came through on WhatsApp. On the issue of extortion, I have a shop in Khayelitsha in Cape Town. It's only that you don't know what is happening on the ground. You know what? If you say you're not giving these guys the money, they kill you. These guys are everywhere in the streets driving. The police are not anywhere. The police are at the police station. If you're killed, the police will come after 1 hour when these guys are gone. So my sister, it's not like we want to give them money. This is different from a bribe where a driver wants to bribe a traffic cop. With these guys, they just kill you. Please understand this. It's sad. Thank you. Mandla in Cape Town, food insecurity in South Africa is what do you want to talk about? Do you want to talk about the HSRC report? Hi, Mandla.
Yes, Kumut, I want to talk about that. But let me touch first on this issue of extortion.
Yes, hi.
It is very bad. You know the women who are selling amagwinya and scab copy here in Cape Town? They have closed now.
So there's no magwinya anymore in Cape Town?
No, it's only those who are willing to pay the extortion that are
you telling me that they extort even the smallest of businesses? Because a person who sells amagwinya is a tiny little operation. It's a tiny operation.
Yeah, the poor women who are selling amagwinya, meat cruel. And all that. They have closed. It's very bad.
Cruel. Sure.
Yeah. Now, on this issue of food insecurity that is done by Human Sciences Research Council. What is interesting there, what I find interesting is that they are saying in rural areas, there's plenty land there, but that land is not utilized to produce food. Now, I concur with them, with their report, because in the Eastern Cape, I'm coming from a farming town there. In 1976, when the Transkei got independence, white farmers left their farms there, and those farms were taken over by black farmers. 48 years later, those farms are not employing anyone. They are not producing anything. 1994, same thing happened. White farmers left their farms there. And 30 years later, those farms are not employing anyone. They are not producing anything. Now, what does the land reform do to food security and also employment and growing of the economy in South Africa? It's detrimental to the growth of the economy. So the better way to do land reform is to grow the economy. I mean, the DA has said that many years ago that don't focus on reforming the economy, focus on growing the cake, make the cake bigger so that everybody can get a slice from this cake. But the politicians didn't listen to that. They focus on reforming the economy. And these political parties, all they talk about, we are going to give you land, we're going to reform, we're going to give you land, as if land is going to end unemployment in South Africa. Land reform will not help poor South Africans. What will help poor South Africans is to grow the economy, make the economy big. When you do that, you're going to create some or more or many black millionaires and billionaires. And also you're going to end unemployment. Because not every person will be a millionaire in South Africa. Some people are content with having food, shelter, and security. That's all. So these political parties are fooling our people, telling them we're going to give you land, we're going to reform, and all that. That's not going to help us. So our people should wake up and tell these politicians what we want is job creation and also grow the economy. I was listening to other caller the other day. She was saying we don't care about these investors. All we care is about what our politicians are saying, that they're gonna reform the economy. So these investors, we don't care about them. You see? So politicians are fooling our people.
Yeah, aye. Thank you, Mandla.
Okay, Khomotso.
Thank you. There's an extortion line that I've been given to share with anybody that is currently being extorted, by the way. I'm not sure how much it will help you, but I think it's important that I share it. 0800 314 444. 0800 314 444. Mike in Newlands, you want to talk the Pretoria High Racism Report. Hi, Mike.
Yeah, hi, Katie. I do. In a sense, this also represents a form of extortion. Just a bit of context, you'll remember the Department of Gauteng Education raced into the school accusing the 12 pupils of racism. They were suspended. They was accused.
Mike, why is your line not good? What's happening? Are you moving around?
No, let me just try another location. Yeah, how's that? Does that help?
Let's try it. Let's hear.
Okay. Yeah, so essentially what I'm saying is, KG, is that the Gauteng Department of Education has now found
No.
That's not with
No.
either.
No. Mike, everyone has a spot where they know the line is good. Go to that spot.
Well, I'm now over the garbage, but it's not working. Can you hear me now?
I can hear you now.
All right, let me try that. So what's happened is that after this racism was eventually found to be non-existent, the Gauteng Department of Education said they're now going to appoint a diversity transformation consultants to come into the school and make sure there's no racism anywhere. Having found out that there isn't any in the first place. But Steve Mabona of the Gauteng Education Department, I quote him, said, "We will act against racism even if there is no evidence." So now here's the extortion. In comes this diversity and transformation consultants. They get a grant of 300 million from the Gauteng Department of Education. They come in, they investigate for racism, might not find anybody, doesn't matter. But they then charge the Gauteng Education Department, say, 100,000 rand for their efforts, and that money is then paid out to the diversity and transformation consultants, who then spread it to the 10 directors of that organization, which all happen to be AM. and this is called the Matthew Dewey School of Leadership. So what we have is a vehicle that the Gauteng Education Department has devised. Is they go into a school, never mind whether it's race or not, they just look for allegedly finding racism, and then they can use this to strip us of money via this diversity and transformation consultants. It's impossible to measure. And then one final point, you might ask, well, what's wrong with that? It sounds like a good idea. This diversity and transformation consultants are being investigated by the Department of Revenue because they owe them, I think, like 190,000 in, and they also have not produced a balance sheet since 2021. But the Gauteng Department of Education sees fit to give them 300 million rand, which they then can pay to the directors for doing absolutely no visible work at all. And I think that's the form of extortion that we really need to be aware of. Keeping in mind that the Gauteng Education Department is currently being investigated for R1 billion corruption in their feeding scheme, and Steve Mabona himself is allegedly being investigated for using 800,000 rands worth of personal of Gauteng money for personal security. I would love you to get on the show and ask you questions, just for a long-suffering taxpayer.
I'm hoping the producers heard. I'm hoping the listeners heard. I couldn't hear very well. Thank you, Mike in Newlands. Tammy in Randfontein.
Good day, KG. I'm your first caller, but I'm an everyday listener.
Oh, thank you. You mean you're my last caller for today?
KG.
Oh, first time caller.
The issue of the extortion.
Yes.
The issue of the crime. Now, we are told that even food security, as South Africans, we are faced with. But now, the buck stops with the president of the country. Do you know what? When Mugabe was still alive and a president, if there's an issue, he would contact that minister and say, if the current act does not allow us as per the constitution, change it so that we can address this issue. Now the president, the buck stops with him. He is quiet. He is killed every day. Now extortion, if I've been listening to one of the
Tammy, I think Tammy, I'm gonna let you go because I think you've put your point across and we've run out of time. Eva Chipa standing by at 10. It's time for the news.
In news making headlines for this hour, more police officers deployed to the Eastern Cape, and POPRU calls for better mental health programs for police officers. Good morning, I'm Eva Chipa. The Eastern Cape Premier Oscar Mabuyane has welcomed the National Police Commissioner Fanny Masimola's deployment of extra police officers to the province to clamp down on escalating extortion cases. The call comes as several businesses in the area closed their doors in light of escalating extortion. It is alleged that criminal syndicates in the area are demanding protection fees from businesses, schools and even healthcare facilities. Kuselwa Ryangi is the provincial government spokesperson.
The strategic reinforcement is aimed at addressing the escalating issue of gang violence and extortion in key areas of the province, including Mthatha and Gqeberha. The Premier commends this decisive action, which follows the recent visit and community stakeholder engagement in the province led by the Minister of Police, Senzo Mchunu. These engagements highlighted the urgency of addressing the criminal activities that have been terrorizing communities, stifling economic growth and transformation, as well as employment creation.
Earlier, the president of the Eastern Cape Chamber of Business, Vuyisile Ntlabata, called on the National Police Minister to replace officers in Mthatha, alleging that police are working with extortion syndicates.
Some of the police people have been conniving with these guys, so they need new faces and some must be transferred elsewhere. if there are no disciplinary procedures that are going to take place, so that people need to have confidence. They have not been reporting in some cases because we knew that once you report a case, certain police people will report it to those guys, and then you get a phone call. So business is closed and people live in fear.
In other news, the Police and Prison Civil Rights Union POPCRU has called on the SAPS management to establish proactive mental health wellness programs. This follows a murder-suicide incident involving 2 Gauteng traffic inspectors at the weekend. POPCRU spokesperson Richard Mamabolo says the trauma that police officials are experiencing in the line of duty is contributing to their deteriorating mental health. He says psychosocial support services would assist to identify members that face mental health challenges, including being at risk of suicide.
Problem that most members have been communicating is that even though they might come to you after an incident, but the time that it takes for them to revisit you to check as to whether you're making progress or not is quite long. So members are using private facilities which they have to pay for directly, and that puts the SAPS at a disadvantage. The only thing is unions as well, we are at a disadvantage because we can only react to incidents that have already happened. That is why we're quite firm on speaking to the management of the SAPS to revisit and look into how we can actually implement these programs.
And lastly, looking further afield, the U.S. Secretary of State Anthony Blinken says there is no time to waste to reach a Gaza ceasefire deal. Blinken says Hamas needs to agree to bridging proposals for a ceasefire for both sides to implement a peace deal. He also says the U.S. would not agree to the Israeli troops' long-term occupation of Gaza, but the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has contradicted Blinken's statement. The BBC's Mike Thompson reports.
Netanyahu is reported to have said that he'd convinced the US Secretary of State Antony Blinken that Israel should be allowed to keep troops on the border between Gaza and Egypt. Hamas has made clear that it's strongly opposed to such a move. The unnamed senior official who's travelling with Mr. Blinken said such maximalist remarks were not helpful.
Meanwhile, Israel's opposition leader Yair Lapid says Netanyahu must agree to an immediate ceasefire deal in Gaza before all hostages there die. He has accused the Prime Minister of attempting to sabotage negotiations. Recapping the top story at 10, the Eastern Cape Premier Oscar Maweane has welcomed the National Police Commissioner's deployment of extra police officers to the province to clamp down on escalating extortion cases. That's it from me. For SFM News, good morning. I'm Eva Chipa.
SAFM 104 to 107 nationwide.
Catch the Tastemaster Junior this Tuesday evening at 7 on SABC2 as the top 8 take on a new challenge. This week, they delve into the world of social media and learn what it takes for a recipe video to go viral online. Working together, they must create their own unique version of a famous social media bake. That's the Tastemaster Junior this Tuesday at 7, repeat Wednesdays at 1 and Sundays at 4 p.m. Only on SABC2.
Big ups to all the women of Africa Donga. Incredible characters in various fields. When you set your mind onto something, your winning mentality is difficult to defeat. On and off the field. Your excellence in the world of sport speaks volumes. You are the great inspiration to the nation. Happy Women's Month, courtesy of SABC Sport. For the love of the game.
SAFM is celebrating its 88th birthday, and what better way to celebrate than with you, our loyal listener. We will be giving away 8,800 to 10 lucky listeners during the month of August. To stand a chance of winning, stay tuned to SAFM and SMS the keyword SAFM88 followed by your name to 41391 and listen to the station throughout the day where you could be selected as a winner. SMSs are charged at R1.50 per SMS. Free SMSs and SMS bundles do not apply.
Happy birthday, happy birthday, happy birthday, happy birthday.
You are listening to KG Mwekezi on SAFM.
So welcome to the second hour of the Talking Point here on SFM, where we're leading the conversation. Join whenever you want. 086 000 2032, 086 000 2032, or WhatsApp 0614104107. Tweet, I meant X. What do you say actually? Do you say tweet me? You can't say X me. Okay, do you say X me? Okay, X us on at SFM Radio, and please hashtag SFM Talking Point if you're talking to us. In this hour in our Citizens Corner, it's Wednesday, it's Citizens Corner Wednesday, we're going to have a conversation around harassment in public spaces. In South Africa, we often speak about harassment in the context of the workplace or in relation to sexual abuse. We hardly ever speak about how this behavior can manifest in public spaces like malls, like transport nodes, and even restaurants. We hardly talk about how harassment in a public space may lead to stalking and other social harms. Over the weekend, a young woman on TikTok, a young South African woman on TikTok, went viral after a visit to a local restaurant where she experienced harassment while just having lunch. After politely declining the advances of a man, she tried to get the attention of the staff of that restaurant to change tables and to move away from the perpetrator. However, the man kept on following her and went as far as following her to the next restaurant even. She had no way of reporting this to the authorities in the mall. Imagine a world where a woman can walk down the street and run errands at a mall and even enjoy a meal at a restaurant without some sort of harassment. To unpack this discussion further and unpack some of the solutions to protect women and girls in public, we're going to talk to Lisa Vetten, Tsepo Mojapelo, and Zweli Masilela. But first, your voice notes.
Morning, Khomocho and the listeners. This is Magdalene from Bloom. Khomocho, my request this morning is that how about you call in and Jabulani Kumalo to come and give us clear information about how did they started MK political party, so that we become clear about the whole saga. There's a lot of confusion around South Africa with this thing of MK political party. Secondly, this thing of extortion, if ever the government can apply and implement according to the public policies, including the PPP policies, things will run all right. Things are messed up by the government itself. Magdalene from Bloom, thank you.
Good morning, SAFM. Hope you're well. And good morning to your listeners. I think this is a thing that the police should take on nationally, because this is happening all over. We have seen it in George, which I'm from George especially, but we have seen it in George, we have seen it surrounding areas, Oudtshoorn, all over in the Southern Cape, the Gardenwood district. Police are working with these guys that own those shops, the Pakistanis. They take bribes from them, and these guys, they're selling drugs in the open. When the police come, they do patrols, they skip these shops, they don't go to these shops, they rather chase the guys off the street and searching them. So I think they need to make it mandatory that they do put something in place where they can do a search in the shops as well, and these in rotation with these police officers. Thank you, guys.
Good morning, House KG. The issue of extortion is all over the country. It's high time that as community members, we play a significant role and help the police to eliminate these criminal activities, because police alone cannot win this fight. As a community members, we must come forward with whatever information we have and help the police. So this is Nyolo in Mafefe, Limpopo.
Good morning, KG. It's Brian Mabai from Protea Glen. You know, with business extortion, It does happen, especially it has tried to happen to me. But it's so funny that those guys who do extortion are actually the police officers, the metro cops, the police who pretend to be health inspectors, trying to ask for bribe, trying to tell you about crime, this and that. It has happened to me on several occasions. It's how I respond that makes them run away. So every time when they approach me, especially on uniform, I will always fight back and tell them, no, this is not the law. Brahma by protect.
It's 10:13. Keep your voice notes coming on 061-410-4107. It's time for the Citizens Corner, and we're having a conversation around harassment in public spaces. Harassment in public spaces with Lisa Vetten, who's a gender researcher and activist, and Tsepo Mojapelo, director at Mojapelo Attorneys Incorporated. Zweli Masilela is senior mentor at Kamohelo Foundation for Boys. That's because in South Africa, as I said, we speak about harassment in the context of work or in the context of official sexual abuse, but we hardly speak about the behavior manifesting in public spaces, in malls, in transport nodes, in restaurants. And we saw a video that went viral on TikTok of a woman visiting a restaurant, a local restaurant, where she experienced harassment while having lunch after, politely declining the advances of a man. And the men ended up following her around, and it was harassing. It was no longer just somebody asking somebody out. Good morning to my guests, and maybe I start there, Lisa. At what point is it harassment, and at what point is it just a man asking a woman out? Good morning, Lisa.
Good morning, KG, and good morning to your listeners. I mean, the minute she said no, any attempt to persist thereafter is what we would consider to be harassment. He's asked, we hope politely, but thereafter, if she's made her feelings clear, he should leave her alone. And in this instance, it was very clearly harassment what she was being subjected to.
Yeah, and the no is enough. The moment you just say no, it's enough. You should just be left alone.
Exactly, and I mean sometimes if you look at the body language, if somebody turns their back on you, if they they turn to look at their phone, if they show in multiple ways they are not interested, you need to take the hint and stop and go somewhere else and leave the woman alone.
Yeah. Good morning, Tsepo. But in South Africa, we don't live in a country where I can run to, a sort of legal establishment of sorts in the mall that allows me to say, this gentleman is harassing me and I want to lay a charge. What kind of rights does she even have? Good morning, Tsepo. Tsepo, I think you've muted yourself. Hi.
Yes, I have. So sorry. Thank you so much for having me. Good morning, our stage, and good morning to all your listeners as well.
Yes.
You are spot on, actually. So we do have a problem with harassment in the country, unwanted. The basis of it being that it is unwanted. It is regulated by the Protection from Harassment Act. And anyone can approach a magistrate court. And actually, the Act does provide that in serious circumstances, obviously it will have to be a circumstance that is very urgent, and urgency is dealt with in the courts in terms of the imminent harm that cannot be deferred, if that protection order is not put in place. But definitely we do have means that do protect anyone that is suffering or is at the hands of being harassed. They can approach a magistrate court for the application for that protection order. And interesting also is that it's not just you as the complainant complaining against someone that is harassing you. You can actually also make it on behalf of someone that you have a material interest in seeking that sort of protection from them.
Yeah, but in the immediate moment of feeling harassed, what sort of recourse do you have?
Well, immediately, it really is that it's very difficult, our KG, to deal with this because one, she is in a public space. Two, she does not know who this person is. You know, that's another hurdle that you also have to pass when you actually go to the court to say that actually I want that that this harassment or protection order against this person. But in the immediate, your best chance obviously is a police. And in that immediate, that person might also go away. So you're trying to deal with an imminent harassing or potentially harassment situation, but you need to go elsewhere, you know, to enforce those legal rights, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Zweli Masilela, you know, are boys aware that girls have agency over their lives and, you know, catcalling it's a thin line between catcalling and harassment. Good morning.
Good morning, KG, and let me also extend my greeting to your panelists as well as to all the listeners. Dealing with the boys, I would say in most cases they are aware. However, because of these masculinity perceptions that are actually built around the boys, that is where then we try by all means to address those issues, whereby also we try to highlight the issue that, you know, confidence, how does it look like? And it's mainly about listening and respecting the needs of others and trying by all means to, you know, guide them on not calling out or maybe coming out with this negative behavior. Because by the look of things, it's actually most us men in general that we are promoting this type of behavior and harassment, in a sense that we don't call out each other into order whenever we see one of us doing something that is not necessarily allowed even in terms of the law. You know, I'll just simply make an example that you would find a group of men standing in the corner and shoot the lady pass. All these negative comments that will come in simply because a lady doesn't want to entertain you. And this, we are seeing it from our friends as well, but none of us is calling each other into order and also guide each other as to say,
in fact, you encourage each other. When you're in a group, you end up encouraging each other to...
We end up encouraging each other, yes.
So go on.
No, I was just saying, so that's just how, picking up from all those things, when we engage with the boy child, then these are all the things that we bring forward just to make them aware of the impact that it has and also how it's aligned with the issues of harassment and GPV as well.
Yeah, we're going to continue our conversation around public harassment or harassment in public spaces in a short while with Lisa Vetten and Tsepo Mojapilu and Zweli Masilela. We're going to go to a quick commercial break.
We can do this. It's been a long time coming. This deserves to grow. It's a great business. If they don't like it, someone else will. And fund me so I can expand. Maybe I can offer them shares. I need to retain equity for staff. It's going to be good for recruitment. Yeah.
Possible begins with that one great idea. When Telkom enables entrepreneurs to make their ingenuity a reality, we grow local economies. Telkom. Possible begins here.
Borussia Dortmund understands the delight that comes with triumphing the opening clash of the league race. But Eintracht Frankfurt are not about dropping points this early. They want to complete their visit to Signal Iduna Park with 3 incredible points. This is the Bundesliga. Football as it's meant to be. Catch the hot contest between Borussia Dortmund and Eintracht Frankfurt on Saturday, 24 August at 6:30 p.m. Live on SABC Sport on DTT Channel 4 and at your fingertips on SABC Plus. Also available on sabcsport.com. Hashtag We Love It Here. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
SAFM is celebrating its 88th birthday, and what better way to celebrate than with you, our loyal listener. We will be giving away 8,800 to 10 lucky listeners during the month of August. To stand a chance of winning, stay tuned to SAFM and SMS the keyword SAFM88 followed by your name to 41391 and listen to the station throughout the day where you could be selected as a winner. SMSs are charged at R1.50 per SMS. Free SMSs and SMS bundles do not apply.
Happy birthday, happy birthday, happy birthday, happy birthday.
You are listening to KG Mwekezi on SAFM.
For the purposes of understanding, I think I want to read you this, what public street harassment is. Public street harassment in general can come in the form of physical and verbal abuse, and it often correlates with sexual intent and violates a person's right to safety. And this is according to the United Nations and other global organizations. And what they call public street harassment is considered a human rights issue. Are people aware that it's a human rights issue, Tsepo?
Hello, KG.
Yes.
The volume was a bit low. Yes.
Are people aware that public harassment, public street harassment is actually a human rights issue? It's a human rights violations issue.
I don't think many people are aware of that. And specifically in our country, right, where we still see a lot of the harassment that then turns, into this violent acts against women. So I would say that people really don't understand the nuances, just how sensitive it is for someone to say no and for you to respect that someone said no. So people are not aware. But I will also add, KG, that it's also very important, though. I'm a stern believer, being in the legal field, that the courts are a last instance measure. So in the interim, the organizations that are dealing with the actual problem of where do people know, do boys or even girls for that matter, do they know when no means no? And do they know about consent? Do they know that you don't badger someone just because you want to talk to them? If someone does not want to talk to you, you cannot insist on that. So it is all of those. But no, plainly, I don't think most people do know that there is a thin line that you cross from trying to approach someone and eventually then seeming forceful or bordering then on the harassment angle.
Yeah, I mean, where do you draw the line? Because ultimately, though, like I think what Zweli was saying is people are socialized, particularly men or boy children in South Africa are socialized to believe pursue, be relentless in your pursuit of, the whoever it is that you are interested in. I don't know if you saw the video in question that we're talking about. The person in question ended up being followed from one restaurant to another, and the person in pursuit who was pursuing can say, no, I was just pursuing a woman I'm interested in, and the person who was being pursued can say, no, I was being harassed. Where actually do you draw the line?
That's a very thin line, KG, that we really have to look at. And like I said, organizations dealing with the education of that part, that's where mostly important that they come in, right? Because she clearly, I saw the video of KG, she clearly said, no, thank you, he insisted and he kept on saying that whatever it was, because he wasn't audible, but you can clearly hear her saying that, no, thank you, I don't want to engage with this. She even asked to move and all of that. So those are all indicative of the small steps that she has taken herself to, one, try to stop the communication, or also then to move or be removed from that situation. So clearly, I don't know, perhaps it's a comprehension issue, obviously on the side of the male, but those are quite indicative of the fact that I don't want to engage in a conversation with you. I don't want to talk to you, but you are persisting.
Yeah. So does this mean then intentionally also invading someone's personal space or blocking their movement, their space, also includes harassment?
It does include all of that. So the forms of harassment, they're quite vast.
Yeah.
So and also the application also for protection from harassment deals with quite a vast list of things. For example, text messages, you will find obviously now, I want to be protected from receiving certain text messages or email messages from you that are intimidating, that are threatening, that are unwanted. Very important, unwanted. There is such as unwanted. I don't want to speak to you. I do not want to engage in communication with you, but you are insisting, and forcefully so, because I have told you to refrain from doing that. So those are all the other types of actions that you as a person can be protected from in terms of applying for that protection order, to say that I'm applying that this person not contact me, that they not be within a certain parameter or within a certain distance from me, that they not come to my workplace, my home, all of those things, not contact me on email, phone call, all of those things. So all of those are all incumbent in terms of your protection as a complainant when you approach a court of law to say that I actually need protection from House KG because she insists on sending me messages, insists on calling me, insists on visiting my workplace, etc.
What about the online space? Because there's many ways now that people can find ways to get access to you.
It's still contact House KG. I think maybe because of the introduction of social media, we sometimes think that because you are online, you are behind a screen, we cannot locate you. So part of this act, what it actually does, or what it actually provides for in the actual act, is that if you are maybe receiving harassment from an online account, right, that this account, you don't know who it is, when you apply for that protection from harassment, right, there is an investigation that can be done by the police where the identity of this respondent is unknown. And because those provisions are there, this goes on to be a proper investigation done by the SAPS, and they obtain whatever IP addresses, whatever locations. We live in a technologically advanced society, so we can track down the IP accounts, the location, and all of that. And once that identity of that respondent has been located, then you serve them with that protection from harassment or that protection order to say, please appear before a court of law because you have been identified as someone that is harassing a certain type or a certain KG.
Yeah, we'll continue our conversation in a short while. It's 10:30. It's time for the news headlines.
Thank you very much, KG, and a very good morning. With the news headlines, Kemudupi Makhalemele. National Police Commissioner Cathy Mohlahlana says 8 suspects have been arrested in Mthatha in the Eastern Cape in connection with extortion since February. The inspecting judge of prisons, Edwin Cameron, says a bail fund would significantly alleviate pressure on correctional services, and at least 35 Pakistani pilgrims have been killed and many others injured in a bus crash in central Iran. I'll be back with a full news update at the top of the hour.
The rand is currently trading at 17 rand 81 to the dollar, 23 rand 22 to the pound, and 19 rand 83 to the euro. Markets in Asia were weaker at the closing bell. The JSE is mainly firmer in mid-morning trade. Markets in Europe are higher at this hour. Gold is trading at $2,510 and platinum at $951 per ounce. The price of Brent crude oil is at $77.11 a barrel.
Catch me, Bonang Mateba, on a fresh reality series that showcases the business behind being a business. Get to experience an intimate look at my life with family, personal growth, and my mission to uplift young women. Jet with me as we prepare to crown a lucky chaser. Be grounded, be entertained, and be dazzled. Monday, 6 p.m. on S3, it's a date with you and B. Catch Bedazzled by Bonang on S3 every Monday at 6 p.m.
Winners, finalists, fan favorites, and viral sensations from previous seasons of America's Got Talent return to the stage to compete for the All-Star title. Join Heidi Klum, Howie Mandel, and Simon Cowell as they decide who is the best of the best. The creme de la creme, the top dog, is in Tamatota. It's a festival of talent on America's Got Talent All-Stars. Saturdays at 6:30 p.m. on S3. Channel your best entertainment with America's Got Talent All-Stars. Only on S3. Open up.
SA Women Struggles Journal. Hashtag Women's Month. Celebrating 30 years of democracy towards women's development. SAFM celebrates the power, resilience and brilliance of women. It's Women's Month and we honoring the incredible contributions of women in our communities, our workplaces and our homes. Join SAFM in recognizing the achievements, strengths and spirit of women everywhere. Let's uplift and empower each other today and every day. SAFM, leading the Women's Month conversation. You are listening to KG Mwekezi on SAFM.
10:34, we're having a conversation for our Citizens Corner around the harassment in public spaces, and we haven't even spoken about the impact, Lisa, on non-binary and gender non-conforming people. Let's talk about the impact of public street harassment on non-binary and gender non-conforming people and children, because it's not something that only happens to South African women.
No, I think harassment is unpleasant, whoever it happens to. It's intimidating. It's irritating and frustrating. It also, and the intimidatory aspect of it comes with the threat of what will happen if I resist, if I try to fight back. Could it go any further than this? And I think that is the frightening point about harassment, is that one is aware of what it could become. And whether you're being harassed because you're non-violent, threatened with violence, there's your fear of, if I leave an open space where people can see me and I move somewhere quieter where there are no people around me. So I think people often think that harassment is somehow less serious than being physically assaulted or raped, but I think that threat that goes with it should not be underestimated, because it does leave people that sense of, I need to look over my shoulder constantly to see what's happening. Could this get worse? So one must never overlook that threatening, intimidatory aspect, in addition to its irritating or annoying aspects as well.
Yeah, and when it does get worse, what are the extremities? What's the worst that has happened when people have tried to say, I'm being harassed, and we're ignored?
Well, I think it's important to bear in mind that you can use the criminal law for some forms of street harassment. And I mean, in this situation in the mall, it would be very disappointing if this particular individual had approached the mall manager and they had not intervened, because even private spaces like malls do have certain regulatory rules in place as to how you should engage in a public place. So I think it would also be important for malls to possibly put up signs or notify people that they can approach their security guards if they are being harassed in this way, so that this behavior stops. And I think in a restaurant, if you are being bothered by another patron, it should be known as well. And again, signs can be put up in public places to say that, harassment is not tolerated. Those are the kinds of informal ways that we keep each other in check. But I think when we talk about serious forms, any kind of touching would immediately fall within the definition of sexual assault, for instance, within the Sexual Offences and Criminal Matters Amendment Act. So groping, pinching of bums, grabbing breasts, rubbing yourself against, all of that falls within the definition of sexual assault. that is contained in the Sexual Offences Act. I mean, at its most serious, harassment can, of course, culminate in rape. And there you would obviously also be laying criminal charges of rape.
Yeah.
Harassment you could also deal with as sexual intimidation. So there are those criminal charges.
Yeah, I mean, they say the most prevalent form of sort of sexual and gender-based violence is actually street harassment, contrary to what a lot of people think. And, some people are saying, so how should men or whoever it is wanting to show personal interest in somebody, go ahead and show personal interest if they're not allowed to talk to them in a public environment?
I don't think there's a rule against men approaching women in public environments, or women approaching women, or women approaching men. It's the way you do it. I mean, if you go over and make a lewd comment about, and your first comment, say, is about you address them as their genital organs, for example, or you use some other kind of crude word, that is clearly very offensive. And that, these are questions of socialization. That is not how you speak to a stranger, because you're immediately reducing them to nothing more than their body parts. You are not treating them as fully human. So I think that there's that aspect of how you approach. There's also, if you ask, look very carefully at the response you're getting. If it's no, then go away. As Smitty was saying, there is this perception that when women know, they actually mean yes, and they're just playing hard to get. I think we do need to start moving towards a society where if you get a no, you move on. Rejection might be very hard and very difficult, but you're going to have to learn to deal with that.
Yeah.
I think walking up to someone and touching them when you don't know them is clearly out of.
Yeah, but Lisa, we also have to emphasize that harassment is not something that's limited, to people who are non-binary or, the groupings that I referred to earlier, or men to women. Women can also harass men.
Yes, I think it's the same principles that applies. If somebody has indicated to you that they're not interested, then you need to stop. Because if you overstep that boundary and you keep thinking, well, if I'm asking, eventually they're going to give harassing behavior. In fact, it's more than harassing. You are bordering on stalking. So I think, the Protection from Harassment Act also deals with stalking. But if you continue and persist when somebody has said, I'm not interested, then I think you need to go away and think a little bit about your behavior, and your friends also need to help you to think about your conduct and how it is a fantasy. And a dangerous fantasy if you persist and persist and persist in the mistake that one day this person is going to give in and start going out with you.
Yeah. Anonymous in Cape Town wants to join the conversation. Morning, Anonymous.
Hi. Yes, when I was young and I came from Durban to Cape Town, the men were always whistling at me, and I found it very uncomfortable. But this situation was really bad. I came off of the train, and everybody got off on the other side of the station. And as I approached under sort of the bridge, there was a white man, and he started peeing against the wall. And he was like middle age. I felt very uncomfortable. I didn't know if I should run back under the station, but I thought he could have chased me and there could be no one left on the other side. So I stopped, and there was a security guard outside the company with a fence in between us, African security guard, and I often chatted to him. So I called him over and I said to him, I feel very uncomfortable about this man, so I'm going to turn my back on him and pretend I'm chatting to you today. And would you please tell me what he's doing and when he's moved off? And he did that for me, and he helped me. And then when he said it was clear because he'd walked down the other street and not past him in the opposite direction. And then I left and went home. It was terrible.
Yeah.
But I felt very uncomfortable. I mean, he knew I was the last one sort of following him, and he could have waited for me to pass before he did that. And it was a white man.
Wow. Thank you,
I think it's disgusting.
Yeah, thank you, Anonymous.
Thank you.
And this people showing up or exposing themselves, Lisa, is something that people deal with a lot, particularly online, where people end up sending or exposing themselves or sending their private parts to other people online without realizing that's a form of harassment.
It's also criminal. You can deal with it again in terms of the Sexual Offences Act. Exposing yourself to somebody is a criminal act. And again, if you are under a particular age, and this is something that was very important for teenagers to be aware of, is that of yourself and you are under 18, you are potentially also guilty of making child pornography. And this is something one always has to alert young people to, is that they potentially run afoul of the law in two ways. So it is important for people to be aware of the fact that that exposing yourself, whether in person or whether digitally, is also a criminal offence, very clearly recognised as harassment.
Yeah, I know we have to let you go, Lisa, because you said you want you have a previous engagement and you have to go by 11:45. So I'm going to thank you now, Lisa Vetten, for the time that you've given us. Thank you so much. Zweli,
thank you, KG.
Thank you. I wanted to talk about the issue of consent and the conversations that you have as a mentor at the Kamohelo Foundation for Boys around, what conversations do you have around understanding consent? Because no really does mean no.
It's quite a number of issues, KG, that we normally address when it comes to that specific concept of consent, whereby we try by all means to make them understand that it comes in a verbal form and also a non-verbal form, whereby we are saying again, anything resounding yes, it could equal to a consent, but there's certain things that the boys need to understand as to say it's something that is freely given. At the same time, it's reversible in a sense that it's okay for one person to say yes now and then change their mind at a later stage. So those are the things that they need to pay attention to, as well as paying attention to body language as well, because at the same time, flirting cannot be considered as consent. Wearing a sexy outfit, it's nowhere close to giving a consent. And also, any other answer other than yes, and also if you find that you are not being asked to stop, it doesn't necessarily give consent. So these are all the issues that we highlighted to them, in a sense that when we discuss in deeply the self-awareness, self-love, and self-respect, that is also where we try by all means to say, you guys, you need to take notice of how intense your feelings are, especially when you are rejected, and also get to admit how you feel, but without dwelling much on it. And at the same time, give yourself credit for trying. If you pursue a woman and then they just say no, respect that and give yourself credit to say, I've tried, and it ends there. And that is where most of the interesting part as well is, where by now I say they must actually take rejection as a form of protection. By so doing, it simply means someone who is rejecting you, someone who is not giving that consent, you are actually protected in a sense that you might be pursuing someone who's not even aligned to who you are, as much as you understand yourself, what you want to achieve, who you are in the community and socially as well. So that is how we try then to address all these elements, as to say, these boys need to take informed decisions and also be aware of what these concepts mean to them, so that they don't find themselves wanting and in trouble simply because they don't understand these things.
Yeah. Anonymous in Pongola has joined the conversation. Good morning, Anonymous.
Good morning, KJ. How are you?
I'm well, thank you.
I just want to first to indicate on the topic one first issue. there is another harassment in the form of employment, and which is not it's recessive, but I don't know how we look at it. If a woman will go for any employment environment, need for jobs, it would be offered to say, you go to a hotel with so and so and so, then you could be employed. This thing is happening from municipalities, employment rate, state-owned enterprises, and if anyone appeared to notice that and raise that, is being dealt with in a heavy manner. And we have been not talking about this for several times. And
Sex for jobs scandals.
Yes, and it is not a scandal per se. It's also fall under harassment, because you come outside you're looking for a job. Then they take advantage. You go and sleep with someone else. He's a manager. You won't be employed. Second issue, this issue of one state-owned enterprise has got for 5 years hiding a forensic report. And then now we need help in that one. If anyone who can assist, because I believe the state-owned enterprise, there is a minister who's reporting that they govern that state enterprise. Now the issue is, we went to court. They advised us to went to court to follow court proceedings. Then we go to court, and then the judgment came out to say they must give us the report, the forensic report. They issue one report with another branch. That report, when they require certain information, they said they did not do anything because that report is a rocky report. And then again now, they had to issue another report to another division of the state enterprise. They said that report now is missing. They don't see it. From all of these years, even including the judgment they've issued, that they must give that judgment, that forensic report, they are hiding it. So I don't know, how can we get help from the government side, even the member of the parliament? Can they intervene in this matter, because they are not interested in revealing that report?
Okay, thanks, Anonymous. Anderson in the Eastern Cape.
Yes, hello, Cathy. Are you Cathy or Cathy?
I am not Cathy for sure.
Okay. Anyway, I would like to say something about the service delivery in my village.
Yeah, but we're not talking about service delivery right now. We're talking about, we are having a conversation around harassment in public spaces. Do you want to maybe leave your number with the producer so that they can call you when we're talking about service delivery? Okay. It's 10:49. We'll continue our conversation in a short while.
SAFM is celebrating its 88th birthday, and what better way to celebrate than with you, our loyal listener. We will be giving away 8,800 to 10 lucky listeners during the month of August. To stand a chance of winning, stay tuned to SAFM and SMS the keyword SAFM88 followed by your name to 41391 and listen to the station throughout the day, where you could be selected as a winner. SMSs are charged at R1.50 per SMS. Free SMSs and SMS bundles do not apply.
Happy birthday, happy birthday, happy birthday, happy birthday.
SAFM 104 to 107 nationwide.
It's Citizens Corner Wednesday, and we're talking about harassment in public spaces. Here are some of your voice notes.
Even though some South African men, especially black men, have been socialized to believe that, when a woman says no, they actually mean yes. You are, as a person, able to see the body language of somebody who's not interested in you. It's just that they turn the blind eye. So some men who pursue you no matter what can pick up that you are not interested. They are just doing it, I guess, out of spite. They know when they are harassing you, because I think from a person's body language you can readily see whether they're interested in what you are saying to them or not. So it's something that they turn a blind eye to, believing that women like it. You can see when somebody likes what you're saying to them or not. Debbie, thanks.
Good morning, guys. I think men ought to be educated about the fine line distinguishing complimenting and approaching a lady and also harassment. And another point is that men ought to ensh this on their minds and heart that coitus ought to be consensual, regardless if you are dating or married to that individual. I think that will also take us a long way. This is Avile in Adelaide. Thank you.
The problem around this debate or around harassment is that it's paradoxical in a sense, because we're saying it's wrong to do this, but you have to be very clear. So then what is wrong and what is right in the way that we relate to other people? And this can apply to many things beyond sexuality, but in sexuality, in terms of the two genders, how do we actually, what is the right way to do that, you know? So the right way for everyone listening is to approach the other gender, and then to respectfully listen to their response. So if they respond in a way they're saying, well, I'm not sure, or I'm not, then you move away. But to make it something illegal, to make it like a thing like this is part of the problem. It's part of the perversion, you know, because it creates something else.
Good morning, KG. My personal opinion is that if a female is being harassed at the mall, it is very easy for that same female to look for the nearest male or security that's obviously around the mall and inform them of what's happening. They can isolate her, speak to the individual, ask him what his problem is, especially if it's unknown to her. I mean, these things can be resolved. It's not like it's a huge issue we cannot deal with. There can be some measures of dealing, especially when you can approach another individual, another man, around that scenario. Yeah, that's my opinion. Daniel here in Bryanston.
It's easy for a man to say, go to another man to ask for protection while you're trying to get protection from another man, if you know what I mean. Is it that simple, Zweli? If a woman is being harassed in a mall by one man, should she go to another man to say, can you see that man? He's harassing me, help me against him?
It could work at some point, but something that I'd like to highlight is that women don't necessarily need rescuing, if I may put it like that. All it needs is for us as men to change our mindset so that we see them as equals, as strong and smart human beings, so that we prevent this thing of saying they even need to go to another man for them to feel secured, for them to feel safe, for them not to feel harassed. So it's just a matter of us as men making sure that it starts within us, within the societies that we are within. We try to change the behavioral patterns that we see, which are not actually presenting us as good men. So as people who are trying to empower the next generation of leaders and also build a nation of good men, that is where we say it needs to start with us. Like if within a pair of your friends, within your workspace, you know, wherever that you are actively involved, that is when we need to actually empower men as to say, this has to come to a stop now for us to make these women feel safe.
Thank you. And I think that's so powerful because it's true. We don't need to be rescued. We need to be respected and given the space and believed when we say no. We haven't spoken, Tsepo, around, for example, issues of people taking your photograph without permission. But we haven't spoken about upskirting. Somebody, pulling up your skirt or taking a photo up up a skirt or up your dress without your permission. Those are some of the things, that happen, or showing pornographic images without consent, because there's so many levels to these illegal elements and these levels of harassment.
Definitely. And like Lisa touched on some of them, those then fall under the Sexual Offences Act, with criminal charges that would be laid against a person that does that. One, because it is unwanted, it is without your consent, it flouts all the protection of personal information or protection of privacy. You are entitled to not have your photograph taken, and you see this now with, especially even on social media. You'd find some people or some influencers, you'd start seeing them blur the pictures of the others, of other people in their frame. Very correctly so. So all of those things, it's a long topic of KG, but all of those, yes, they do have a form, they are a form of harassment, and those ones specifically form of Sexual Offences Act, which is then punishable in the criminal law sphere.
Yeah, and then there's also the touching, the public touching. Somebody feeling like they have the right to, in one way or the other, touch you publicly as a show of interest in you.
And the touching, again, it goes as to what kind of touching is it, someone groping your bum, definitely a Sexual Offences Act, because now you've invaded me, you are touching me on my body, and it is unwanted, someone that is coming up to you and they're touching your hand, those are the thin areas, or the gray areas rather, that do they form part of sexual harassment? Not so much, can be explained away by any means, but groping definitely. So all of those are really small but very big acts that start small but can turn big.
Yeah, I mean, your parting shots as we round off this discussion, because, as I said at the start of our discussion, it's really a thin line between showing interest in somebody and harassing them. What would your parting shots be to our listeners, Tsepo?
Always exercise constraint. OSKG, it's very easy for the lines to be blurred at any point. So anytime you're approaching someone who's a stranger at that, always exercise constraint. Don't touch them. Listen to what they're saying. If they're saying no, then politely remove yourself from that situation. You don't want to cross a line that a person has set up for themselves, and you are saying that, but I wasn't forceful. But you're approaching them. You open yourself up to be in their space, and what they do with you being in their space is no longer in your control.
Yeah. And your parting shots, really?
On my side, I would say we need to understand what kind of men we want to be, and also for our young boys. Hence, that is why I always advise to say, let's try to internalize these behaviors, as to say, if someone were to do what I'm doing to either my sister or my child, how would I feel? And that should change our behavioral patterns as well to do good by women.
Fantastic. We'll leave it there. Zweli Masilela, Senior Mentor at Kamohelo Foundation for Boys. Tsepo Mojapilu, Director at Mojapilu Attorneys Incorporated. Thank you for your time. It's 11. Modupi Mohlahlana is standing by.
Very much, KG. The top stories this hour: Police Commissioner addresses extortion in Mthatha, and dozens of Pakistani pilgrims are killed in Iran. A very good morning to you. The National Police Commissioner Fanny Masemola says 8 suspects have been arrested in Mthatha in the Eastern Cape for extortion since February. It is alleged that criminal syndicates in the area are demanding protection fees from businesses, schools, and healthcare facilities. several businesses have closed their doors in light of the escalating crime. Masemola says they've deployed more police officers to Mthatha.
We are aware that there is this siege at Mthatha where this extortionist harass people. Hence, we have taken the efforts to deploy extra personnel from other areas into Mthatha under the command of leadership from head office to assist the local leadership. We are investigating it. It's unfortunate also that when it comes to the number of cases that are open, there are very few, it's not many.
Masemola says they will introduce a toll-free line to enable the public to report extortion matters.
We will introduce a toll-free line for the province of Eastern Cape soon, which of course will not cater only Mthatha. We do have the same problem in Nelson Mandela Bay, so we'll introduce it soon this week, and we urge communities to come forward to report on that line so that we can investigate and arrest these people.
The inspecting judge of prisons, Edwin Cameron, says a bail fund would significantly alleviate pressure on correctional services. Cameron, alongside the Judicial Inspectorate for Correctional Services, JIGS, appeared before Parliament to give a general overview of its challenges and successes. The Inspectorate says that one of the challenges is that of people often not affording to pay bail of under 1,000 rand, which contributes to prison overcrowding. Cameron says the JICS is busy with a feasibility study on the establishment of the fund.
We are at a quite an advanced stage. We have done a pilot, we are about to institute a pilot project. We got seed funding. This is outside, it will be an outside entity which will be offering bail fund under certain conditions. Is it not GBV? Not violent prisoners? Have you been granted bail already? So those people who have been granted bail will be afforded the bail on specified conditions.
Northern Cape Premier Zamani Soul has warned that poor infrastructure in the province will drive away visitors if it is not urgently addressed. He was speaking during the launch of Tourism Month in Kimberley yesterday. Soul says no tourists will visit an area without basic services such as water.
Tourists won't come if the public infrastructure is neglected. So what attracts tourists? Basic things. Keep your town clean. Pay attention to public amenities and public infrastructure. They must see an effort to fight crime, because no tourists will visit areas which are riddled by crime.
And on the international front, at least 35 Pakistani pilgrims have been killed and many others injured in a bus crash in central Iran. The vehicle was traveling from Sindh province to Iraq, where those on board were to attend a religious ritual. The bus is reported to have overturned after its brakes failed and caught fire. Recapping the top story at 11 o'clock, National Police Commissioner Fanny Masemola says 8 suspects have been arrested in Mthatha in the Eastern Cape for extortion since February. For SAFM News, Kemudupi Makhalemele.
SAFM 104 to 107 nationwide.
Winners, finalists, fan favorites, and viral sensations from previous seasons of America's Got Talent return to the stage to compete for the All-Star title. Join Heidi Klum, Howie Mandel, and Simon Cowell as they decide who is the best of the best. The creme de la creme, the top dog, is in Tamatota. It's a festival of talent on America's Got Talent All-Stars. Saturdays at 6:30 p.m. on S3. Channel your best entertainment with America's Got Talent All-Stars. Only on S3. Open up.
18 teams are back on the hunting ground. No one wants a loss or a draw. They are all searching for maximum points in every encounter.
This is the Bundesliga. Football as it's meant to be.
Do not miss out on the 2024-2025 Bundesliga season. Catch the action live on Saturdays at 6:30 p.m. Live on SABC Sport on DTT Channel 4 and at your fingertips on SABC Plus. Also available on sabcsport.com. Hashtag We Love It Here. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
The Talking Point on SAFM. Weekdays, 9 a.m. till midday.
KG, hello. My car was hit. My car was hit. Was stressed by a municipal vehicle. We're in the mall, and then when I came out on the shops, I saw that there's a big stretch on the right side, or the side of the. Not of the passengers, of the driver. So I just want to find out who's supposed to pay for this damage that was caused by the municipal vehicle. Because if the insurance doesn't want to pay for the damage, so should the municipality is supposed to be paying for this damage? Just wanted to find that someone could come and explain to me about that.
Morning, KG. Hope you are well. Look, the CIC in the EFF is focusing on a wrong, campaign, like in dissing the people who left to the MK. He should be focusing on rebuilding his party, because he's definitely going to do bad in the local government if he continues in this trajectory. It's politics. People move for certain reasons, but you don't have to attack them. You just have to accept and move on. And look, even Floyd said, I'm moving, and I hope this is not going to be a character assassination, but it turned out to be. And Malema said, no, we're letting you go, we're opening the door for you to come back, but still, he attacked him the next day. So he's kind of, hate and showing off, which is wrong.
Hi, good morning, yes, FM. How are you, Mafuta here? I think the efforts to fight crime in this country should be done holistically. The statement by one official from the Eastern Cape that they suspect some police officers who are working with criminal syndicates should be transferred to other areas. That's very unfortunate. How can that such a solution or suggestion be a solution? Who wants those criminals? Who wants those police officers who are suspected of committing crime in their provinces? We don't want them in the Free State. We don't want them in the Northern Cape. They should find ways to deal with them there in the Eastern Cape. Unfortunately so, but that's not a solution for me.
Good morning, KG. This is Andy from Cape Town. Oh, what an opening clip I just listened now, KG. It just reminded me this morning when I woke up around 4 to listen to Michelle Obama speaking in the American politics. And I just felt so proud, KG. I just felt like I'm an American citizen when she spoke representing us blacks. I felt so proud, KG, this morning, and I was like, wow, what a woman. And Barack spoke that, but Michelle finished it all. I was so proud. I'm so proud. Thank you so much, KG. I wish, like the racist people like the Donald Trumps and the others must learn from the speech Michelle spoke this morning. I felt like I had some good bumps, KG. Thank you so much. Andy from Cape Town.
Hi, I want to comment about the issue of Floyd. There are so many leaders and fighters that are attacking Floyd Shebam. I don't know that was their problem. Floyd take his decision, they must accept it as it is. And the second issue is for Department of Education. I want to thank the Minister of Department of Education to stop this 10 billion rands of a tender that goes to one person. This is a fraud. I'm so happy about this decision took by the Minister of Education. I'm Kululeko Duma at Harding. Thank you.
Thank you to everybody. Thank you very much. So you woke up early. Some of you woke up early in the morning to see that Michelle Obama thing, because that was in the early hours of the morning. You don't sleep, eh? So thank you so much for your voice notes. Keep them coming on 061-410-4107. So financial inclusion and servicing the unbanked population in South Africa is what we're talking about now, because according to the 2023 PayFast report, 19 million South Africans do not have a bank account. While South Africa has some of the most advanced banking systems globally, we have faced some challenges to accessing financial services, from onboarding of new clients at branches to zero rating boarding of to zero rating banking applications on devices. In the last 7 years, there have been newcomers in the banking fraternity that have placed an emphasis on mobile money. This has seen retail operators as well as mobile networks bring in new clients who may not transact with a traditional bank. Furthermore, over 1 million small businesses operate solely in cash and predominantly reside in the informal sector, while new instant payment methods and innovations seeking to close the gap for new entrepreneurs through digital merchants, are they making traction? To help us navigate how we can make transacting accessible for all, we're joined by Dr. Velinkosi Matsebula, Senior Lecturer in Development Finance at the Stellenbosch Business School. Dr. Matsebula, good morning. Thank you so much for your time. When we talk about the unbanked population, what do we mean?
Good morning, KG, and good morning to your listeners as well. Well, when we talk about the unbanked population, especially from a South African context, we refer to individuals who do not have access to formal banking services. So these would include services such as savings accounts, checking accounts, or other financial products provided by traditional banks. So in essence, these individuals do not use banks for their financial transactions and instead rely on cash transactions. So informal savings methods are also some of their go-to methods, and alternative financial services like money transfers, stock sales, and payday lenders. So for the South African context, the unbanked population is often composed of individuals in low-income groups, those living in rural areas, and the people working in the informal sector.
So does this term include those who use accounts linked to cash withdrawals? I'm talking your e-wallets, your money vouchers, your ShopRite transfers, things like that.
Yeah, so in a broader context, the term unbanked does not typically include individuals who use accounts or services linked to those types of innovations like cash withdrawals, your e-wallets, money vouchers, and ShopRite transfer. So these services, while they are not full-fledged bank accounts, they offer some level of financial inclusion by enabling users to send, receive, and withdraw money. But I should also say that these users might be considered underbanked, meaning they don't have limited. They basically have limited access to traditional banking services and rely on alternative financial services.
So you're considered having a full banking service when what happens?
So basically, when you are banked within the formal financial system. Yeah.
So what are the barriers to entry when it comes to attaining the financial financial services?
Yeah, well, there's quite a few that we can think of, or from a literature point of view. So usually it's issues of cost. So there are high banking fees and minimum balance requirements that are unaffordable for many people. So the issues of documentation or lack of it thereof, So limited access to limited access to branches and ATM in rural areas and remote areas as well is part of the problems. Issues of financial literacy. So if you think about it, low levels of financial literacy makes it difficult for individuals to navigate the banking system as opposed to people who are more literate. There are also issues of trust. So the distrust in formal financial institutions, sometimes stemming from past experiences and cultural preferences for cash transaction, are also part of the reasons why these type of problems exist.
Yeah, 19 million is a big number. Hey, who is the most affected when it comes to access to financial services?
Okay, so from the South African context, the most affected groups tend to be low-income individuals, women, rural populations, and informal sector workers. So women in particular are more likely to be unbanked due to factors like lower income, limited access to education, and societal norms that restrict their financial independence. So rural communities also face greater challenges due to the lack of nearby banking facilities and lower levels of financial literacy.
When you say women and societal norms that limit their financial independence, what exactly are we talking about that disallows them to have access to financial services? Women in particular.
Okay, so are you referring to the societal norms or just the general?
The societal norms. What are those?
Oh, well, I mean, as you would have seen from most research that is there, in many communities, traditional gender roles limit women financial autonomy. So women may be expected to depend on their male family members for financial decisions and may not have the freedom to open or control their bank accounts independently in most parts of South Africa, as well as Africa, if we take it to a broader scale. Also issues of limited mobility. So this refers to cultural norms and safety concern can restrict women's physical mobility, particularly in rural areas, making it difficult for them to access banking services and other services that are often located far from their homes. But there are also other issues of education and financial literacy, issues of gender inequalities and financial exclusion. So the income disparities between women and men. So women generally earn less than men, and they are more likely to be employed in formal and part-time jobs with lower wages. And this income disparities reduces their ability to meet the minimum requirements for participating in this mainstream financial sector.
Wow. We'll continue this conversation, Dr. Mathebula, in a short while, because I have to go to a commercial break. What do you know? A commercial break. We're talking financial inclusion and servicing the unbanked population in South Africa with Dr. Velinkosi Mathebula, who is a senior lecturer in development finance at Stellenbosch Business School.
The Serengeti, located on the northern part of Tanzania, bordering Kenya on the north and Ngorongoro in the south. Home to the African Big Five and millions of zebras, birds and other predators. Serengeti 2 returns to the unspoiled corner of the Serengeti for more animal drama. There's humor, heartbreak and nail-biting tension as new characters move in and familiar faces continue their stories. Channel your inner adventurer with Serengeti 2, Sundays at 6 p.m. only on S3. Open up.
Tugs have a great plan to illustrate that they are not just intelligent students in class, but on the field of play as well. Meanwhile, Ntuzuma-based outfit want nothing except for 3 points to run away from the unpleasant zone. The capital city confronts eThekwini. This is the Hollywood Bet Super League. Catch the Mzansi Queens of the beautiful game, University of Pretoria Ladies FC versus Lindelani Ladies FC on Sunday 25 August at 11 a.m. live on SABC Sport on DTT Channel 4. Also available at your fingertips on SABC Plus and SABCSport.com. Hashtag We Love It Here. Brought to you by SABC Sport. For the love of the game.
SAFM is celebrating its 88th birthday, and what better way to celebrate than with you, our loyal listener. We will be giving away 8,800 to 10 lucky listeners during the month of August. To stand a chance of winning, stay tuned to SAFM and SMS the keyword SAFM88 followed by your name to 41391 and listen to the station throughout the day where you could be selected as a winner. SMSs are charged at R1.50 per SMS. Free SMSs and SMS bundles do not apply.
Happy birthday, happy birthday, happy birthday, happy birthday.
Our brand new Miss South Africa 2024 is Mia!
Have you not always accepted, or rather have you not always been comfortable with being a beautiful girl? I mean, you are strikingly beautiful. I know it has nothing to do with you. Mom and Dad are listening, so they get all the credits. You are a strikingly beautiful girl.
Thank you so much. I actually, when I grew up, I did experience bullying. I was an emotional eater. I got overweight, so I have not always felt beautiful. I did have a very tough time during school and like primary school with feeling beautiful. Like I felt very unworthy. I felt very ugly. And there is this line that I love that says, I know my worth, because I have felt my unworthiness.
The Full Circle with Bridget Masinga, Monday to Friday, 1 to 3 p.m.
It's 11:23. We're having a conversation around financial inclusion and servicing the unbanked populations, because according to the 2023 PayFast report, 19 million South Africans, can you believe it? 19 million South Africans do not have a bank account. And while South Africa has some of the most advanced banking systems globally, we have faced challenges to accessing financial services, from onboarding of new clients at branches to zero rating banking applications on devices. In the last 7 years, there's been newcomers in the banking fraternity that have placed an emphasis on mobile money, and this has seen retail operators as well as mobile networks bring in new clients who may not transact with a traditional bank. And furthermore, over 1 million small businesses operate solely in cash and predominantly reside in the informal sector. While new instant payment methods and innovations seek to close the gap for new entrepreneurs through digital merchants, are they making traction? We're navigating this discussion with Dr. Velinkosi Mathebula, who's a senior lecturer in development finance at Stellenbosch Business School. When we talk innovation, Dr. Mathebula, in the fintech and banking sector, we do see digital responses to bridge the access gap. What do you make of the entrance of things like Time Bank, for example?
Yeah. Okay. So the entrance of new players like Time Bank into the South African market basically shows a significant development in the fintech and banking sector, particularly in the context of efforts to bridge financial access gaps as we know them. So Time Bank, for instance, is South Africa's first fully digital bank, meaning it operates without the traditional brick and mortar branches as we know them. And this model allows the bank to significantly reduce operational costs, which in turn enables them to offer more affordable banking services for consumers, especially those in lower income brackets or in rural areas where traditional banks have limited presence. This model is highly advantageous. And it also issues of lower barriers to entry. So this is one of the most critical aspects of initiatives such as Time Bank, the Time Bank approach, in that it is the ease of account opening and the absence of many of the fees typically associated with traditional banking. So users can open an account in a matter of minutes at a kiosk located in a retail partner like Pick and Pay or Boxer stores, as we always see these these types of banks. Also, in that regard, it also creates a lot of accessibility and convenience. So think about it, the partnership of 10 banks with major retail chains across the country ensures that its services are accessible even in areas where traditional customers to perform basic banking transactions while they shop, increasing convenience and making banking services integrated into their normal, into the things that they participate in normal. There is, however, problems that also come with it. So, for instance, due to the landscape of South Africa or even Africa, which is characterized by individuals living in rural areas, issues of illiteracy, and the informal nature of many small businesses, the rapid evolution of digital economy compounds some challenges that come with financial exclusion. So this is because, if you think about it, while digital advancement offer new financing opportunities, it also demands greater financial and digital proficiency, which I think there's an investment that we still need to look at from an African point of view.
Yeah, we have a caller, Xolani in the Eastern Cape. You want to talk financial literacy. Hi, Xolani.
Hi, KG. I think, KG, if we were to look at it, and I'm glad you brought, we've got an academic in the space, if life orientation from the Department of Basic Education should be the greatest platform to educate financial literacy at an entry level, growing up, that the children will know and understand, because at the end of the day, everything revolves around coming in, coming out, which we call with debit and credit. So if you don't teach that, then the kids or the youngsters will learn from outside, and those that are fortunate enough to come from families where they have access to finance and financial information, they will gather. So the key here is about the life orientation, which is part of teaching a child. Financial literacy should be a part of that foundation, and then teach the kids. And it can be linked to entrepreneurship at an entry level, so that the kids can be broadened and to enhance their understanding as they grow. Because I spent 20 years within the financial institutions, and I was fortunate enough to rise up in that space within the business banking side. So the issue that you always come across is that people want to do business, but they don't understand the financial side of the business, your cash flow projections, understanding financial statements, your income and expenditure, what must go there, how do you do projections in that space. So what needs to happen is that life orientation as a base, which is a subject, then the financial literacy be included in that space. Invite your academics, like the fella behind you, to educate those who are teaching life orientations in the schools.
Yeah, fantastic point. Thank you, Xolani.
Thank you.
Thank you. Do you want to comment before we go to news headlines, Dr. Matsabula, on what Xolani just said?
Well, I think Xolani is spot on to an extent, but I think also the financial service providers also have a role to play in educating people, given that they are the ones who brings these types of products to the market. So don't just provide services or products, also educate the people on the products that they have at their disposal.
Yeah. Call on 086 000 2032. How do you transact? Do you prefer mobile money over traditional banks? And if you're part of the 19 million rand South Africans who don't have a bank account, how do you transact? Call on 086 000 2032. 11:30, here's the news headlines.
A very good morning to you. With the news headlines, Cathy Mohlahlana. Consumers are in for some much needed relief as prices drop to their lowest levels in 3 years. The National Police Commissioner Fanny Masemola says 8 suspects have been arrested in Mthatha in the Eastern Cape for extortion since February. And over 1,000 judges and magistrates in Mexico have joined an indefinite legal workers' strike. Details of these and other stories at midday.
Oscar and Emmy winner Kevin Costner is John Dutton, a 6th-generation homesteader and devoted father. John controls the largest contiguous ranch in the United States, operating in a corrupt world where politicians are compromised by influential oil and lumber corporations and where land grabs make developers billions. Shifting alliances, unsolved murders, open wounds, and hard-earned respect puts Dutton's property in constant conflict with those it borders, an expanding town, an Indian reservation, and America's first national park. Channel your inner drama with Yellowstone, Saturdays at 9:30 p.m. only on S3. Open up.
Catch the Tastemaster Junior this Tuesday evening at 7 on SABC2 as the top 8 take on a new challenge. This week, they delve into the world of social media and learn what it takes for a recipe video to go viral online. Working together, they must create their own unique version of a famous social media bake. That's the Tastemaster Junior this Tuesday at 7, repeat Wednesdays at 1 and Sundays at 4 p.m. only on SABC2.
Stay on top of all meaningful, top trending stories right here on SAFM. Leading the conversation.
11:33 on SFM. We're talking financial inclusion and servicing the unbanked population in South Africa, as we heard that a 2023 PayFast report says 19 million South Africans do not have a bank account. And we're talking to Dr. Velinkosi Matabula, who's a senior lecturer in development finance at Stellenbosch Business School. With many innovations, Dr. Matabula, which are geared at tax-free saving products and investment tools, how can the financial services sort of build tools that make banking services come closer?
Yeah, I think the case study of the Time Bank initiative is one of the aspects or initiatives that are more aligned with that question, KG. So I think financial service providers should try and leverage mobile and digital platforms. So to develop and enhance mobile banking apps that allow users to manage their tax-free savings and investment from their smartphone. Because given that South Africa's, for instance, from a South African, even African point of view, there's a high mobile penetration. Mobile platforms are crucial for reaching the underserved population, and particularly in rural areas. One thing that is there is that people are already using their smartphones for other things. So I think that that adoption of those smartphones should be leveraged to achieve this. So there's also a responsibility to educate and inform people. So financial literacy programs, I think as Tolani mentioned, also play a role in this regard. So a partnership with communities, organizations, schools, and workshops in workplaces to offer financial literacy programs focus at benefits that comes with these tax-free savings and investment products. And also there is a need to, I think, develop targeted products. So this low minimum investment options, which offer savings and other investment products with low minimum deposits requirements to cater to the low income individuals. Because I think more than anything, the problem is not already in the people that already have access in these types of services. It's mainly within those who are largely unbanked.
I mean, what challenges are the banks themselves facing in reaching those without bank accounts? Because it's 19 million people. I'm going to assume it's 19 million people that they would love to have as customers. What challenges do they face in reaching those 19 million people?
Yeah, I think if you think about banks, for instance, maybe you need to first think what exactly are their objectives, right? South Africa, for instance, has a great financial banking system, so to say, right? And I don't think they really are driven or prioritizing that segment of the population. So South Africa is a relatively well-developed banking sector, with a significant portion of the population having access to traditional banking services as we know them, or maybe the ones that are required to keep these banks going. Maybe those issues are part of the reasons that hold them back. But in the issues of banking, the barriers that I mentioned earlier also are aligned with the reasons why people banks are having it difficult to penetrate to this population that is unbanked. Issues of cost, geographical accessibility, lack of documentation that is required. Financial literacy is also a problem with the people that they're trying to get. So in essence, I think to drive this, we need to sort of find models or financing models that are niched to provide solutions for African problems, instead of just relying on the important Western ones.
So, do we have data that tells us, in terms of age grouping, how these 19 million South Africans that are unbanked, where they are? They younger, they older? Do we know? Do we have data that can tell us?
Yeah, the data is there. So, for instance, I think FinScope is doing a very good job in this space in providing data for financial inclusion in general. And there is some work that we've done in this space, especially for looking at the inclusion for SMEs and individuals, or financial inclusions for individuals in general. And what you see is that the characteristics of individuals in households that show higher usage of financial services are those that are middle-aged, male, white, more educated, urban residents in Western Cape, Gauteng provinces, and they come from bigger households with more employed members. And the more prevalent in the exclusion is more prevalent in poor rural households living in Eastern Cape, KwaZulu-Natal, and the Limpopo provinces. And in almost every case, these households were made up of black people.
They're saying we're living in a time where businesses are sort of diversifying their payment methods to tap into the unbanked. There was a time when they used to say that the world is moving towards a cashless society, but clearly not.
Yeah. Look, I think more than anything is that the informal markets don't exist in a vacuum. They exist because there's exclusion, right? So this, I think, it's just a call for financial service providers that maybe we need to provide more products that prioritize this the segments of the populations that are unbanked.
So what are the various solutions that can accommodate the needs of these clients? How do we use this data that's come out to find solutions that can accommodate the specific needs of these potential, I'll say, 19 million clients for banks?
So I think the good thing about data is that it just gives you the landscape of the question you're dealing with. So I think data can be used to, one, segment the market through understanding the demographics, for instance. So by analyzing the existing data on the unbanked population, financial institutions can segment the market based on the factors like gender, age, income levels, geographic location, and even employment statuses, and sort of see which products can be niche for those particular people. So this segmentation can help identify the unique needs and challenges faced by different groups, allowing for more targeted solutions. And also they can also data can also help financial service providers in designing tailored financial products. So product customization in this regard, I think, is very important. So using data insight, financial institutions can design products that meet the specific needs of different segments. So, for example, products like microloans, savings accounts with no minimum balances, or mobile money services can be tailored for low-income individuals or those working in the informal sector.
Yeah. When we talk the issue of access, particularly, for example, with women, which is a point that came through earlier, should there be a consideration for the merchants themselves to consider moving closer to where the potential customers are, as opposed to the potential customers being forced to go to where the merchants are?
Yeah, I think there's a study in India that indicated that the government of India sort of forced bank branches to be opened within the rural areas and where there are no bank branches. And that was proven to be very impactful in reducing poverty in that area. In fact, more impactful than government regulations into poverty or other policies that have been put in place. So you are correct. I think some of the things that would help is actually taking the products to the people, because it creates a lot of awareness. People realize that, oh, there's this particular product in the market, or this service is for me. And then they start participating in those financial, in the main financial system. Also, again, if you think about it, people who are banked from a South African point of view, if you think about rural areas, people would have cards, but they wouldn't have places to use those cards, right? So what we then see, there is a misalignment between adoption and usage. So people adopt these products, but they don't necessarily use them. So in most cases, accounts are just used as a means of, as a vehicle to receive and withdraw money. Yeah.
Yeah, we unfortunately have run out of time and are going to have to leave it here, but it's quite a fascinating discussion, and thank you very much for analyzing this for us, Dr. Matsebula. Thank you. Dr. Velinkosi Matsebula is a senior lecturer in development finance at the Stellenbosch Business School, and as I said, we're talking about financial inclusion and servicing of the unbanked populations, 19 million of them in South Africa. We're leaving it here, and it's time for the book reading. The book is Wiseman Gutlu, A Life of Purpose. It's authored by Luvuyo Wachela, and it's coming next. And don't forget, later, Update at Noon with Sakina Kamwendo, and later The Full Circle with Bridget Masinga. It's now 11:44.
The Serengeti, located on the northern part of Tanzania, bordering Kenya on the north and Ngorongoro in the south. Home to the African Big Five and millions of zebras, birds and other predators. Serengeti 2 returns to the unspoiled corner of the Serengeti for more animal drama. There's humor, heartbreak and nail-biting tension as new characters move in and familiar faces continue their stories. Channel your inner adventurer with Serengeti 2, Sundays at 6 p.m. only on S3. Open up.
Reigning champions, the Citizens fully get it that early wins in the league serves you right when pressure kicks in.
On it goes to Foden, 2-0! The master marksman, Phil Foden, you absolute beauty!
However, the Tractor Boys believe they have what it takes to prevail in the Big Boys League.
Burns again, another opportunity, it
This is the Premier League. Catch the exciting battle between Manchester City FC and Ipswich Town FC on Saturday 24 August at 3 p.m. Live on SABC3 and at your fingertips on SABC+. Also available on sabcsport.com. Hashtag we love it here. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport. For the love of the game.
SAFM is celebrating its 88th birthday, and what better way to celebrate than with you, our loyal listener. We will be giving away 8,800 to 10 lucky listeners during the month of August. To stand a chance of winning, stay tuned to SAFM and SMS the keyword SAFM88 followed by your name to 41391 and listen to the station throughout the day, where you could be selected as a winner. SMSs are charged at R1.50 per SMS. Free SMSs and SMS bundles do not apply.
Happy birthday, happy birthday, happy birthday, happy birthday.
book reading. Please note that the views expressed in this book are not that of the station. Listeners' discretion is advised. SAFM presents another episode of A Life of Purpose, written by Luvuyo Wachela and Lumkile Wiseman Kuhlu. The reader is Lerato Velase.
Family Practices and Early Schooling, 1948 to 1955. When she was part of the Mbulawa household, Jane Nkuhlu had watered the growing vegetables, helped enthusiastically by the 3-year-old Lumkile. The move to a new home opened further opportunity. The garden was bigger and closer to the house. Gradually, over successive seasons, it was carved into linear plots for cropping. Between 1948 and the mid-1950s, Dio was still working in the extension service and traveling extensively within the Kala villages, which meant that much of the gardening during the week fell to Jane, who in turn allocated some duties to the energetic Lumkile. By the age of 6, he already had his designated vegetable plots and a strong sense of responsibility. Many years later, Jane recalled Lumkile's attempts, mostly unsuccessful, to impose control over his younger brother, Mandla, and the protests over trampled or uprooted crops. The Nkuhlu household had added 2 more sons, Sonwabiso, provider of pleasantness, born in 1949, and Vuyo, joy or happiness, born in 1951. Lumkile now felt and behaved like the oldest brother. The nurturing of his garden plots gave him an early sense of ownership and responsibility, and, as Jane emphasized, he felt it was his task to prevent livestock, imfuyo, from walking all over our garden. Like many other young boys raised in peasant households at the time, Lumkile's main task was to herd the weaned and the younger calves, but he also helped with milking and herding livestock to and from the pasture land. By the time he started school, he was well acquainted with most of the household's livestock. Mission schools were closely connected to the settlements they served. They were the community school. The deep-rooted history of mission stations and peasantry still, despite the challenge of migrant labor and urbanism, produced ethics geared towards progress and community building in the mid-20th century. The Methodist missionaries who ran the Apaqala primary school during this period largely catered for the community of Christian Africans, and many, like the Nkuhlu family, were educated peasants. The principal of the school, Tia Lizo Tsengiwe, who was born in the Kala area in 1901, was also a product of mission education. He and his colleagues knew most of the parents of the children who entered his school and encouraged them to seek an education. It was not too difficult, as most of the parents of the children in his school were his contemporaries and came from principled households with Christian values, such as the Nkuhlu family. Lumkile's character began to grow in that setting. He started school in 1949. His mother, Jane, who was a qualified teacher, was influential in his starting school at the young age of 5. Recorded at the Apaqala primary school under both first names, Lumkile and Wiseman, he had spent long hours away from home for the first time. But soon, the daily routine of school, the lessons, making new friends, playing and interacting with other children stimulated him and influenced the development of his personality. At the time, he was very attached to the ways of his home. He often preferred to take a home-cooked meal to school instead of eating what was served there, and he always returned home promptly at the end of the school day. His household tasks increased. As he learned his way around Apamnge, and he gradually learned to count, ran errands for his mother, and quite often shopped for the household at a general dealer some distance away, walking the 5 kilometers as often as 3 times a week after school hours. Meanwhile, the normal household routines, including milking and herding the cows, continued. During the summer vacation months of December and early January, there would also be ploughing and sowing, with Dio supervising the helpers. By 1953, when Lumkile had reached Standard 1, he was an active contributor to the work of the household. The year 1953 also became decisive for many young African school children as the NP government tightened its subjugation through the application of the Bantu Education Act. That piece of legislation offered a separate education system for Africans that had to be run strictly by the Hendrik Verwoerd's Bantu Affairs Department. At this time, about 70% of African education was under the administration and financial support of missionaries through various denominational institutions. As we have come to know, there were historical and prominent mission institutions, especially in the Cape and in parts of Natal. Some, including Hildtown and Lovedale, Amanzimtoti, Ohlanga and Marion Hill, were the breeding grounds of African intellectualism as much as they were for nationalism. Even the less well-known were influential in character building. Some that included Olobe, Mbulukezwa, Blytheswood, and Mgwali, which Lumkile's grandfather Willie and both his parents had attended, contributed to refining morals and building characters. Even the lower primary mission schools, such as that of Apaqala attended by Lumkile, played an incisive role in maintaining a healthy moral fiber. For Lumkile, 1953 became a more challenging year in another way, as Tio was transferred to the distant district of Ntabankulu in Bondoland, which meant long periods of absence from home and which stepped up the challenge for 9-year-old Lumkile to carry out more responsibilities to help his mother, who was nurturing the young Vuyo and Sonwabiso, as well as supervising the household. Yet Lumkile enjoyed some of the added challenges and often felt proud when asked to perform some of Tio's functions. Coming from an ardent Christian family, he took pleasure in being asked to read scriptures in the evenings. Reading in front of his family from the hymn book or even from the Holy Bible gave him satisfaction, and presenting the lesson of the day bolstered his confidence. In 1954, Tio returned from Ntabankulu, as he had decided to resign from extension service and attend to his rapidly growing family. As a 10-year-old in Standard 2, Lumkile received the first opportunity to work alongside his father and learned from him a more systematic approach to preparing land. Tio vividly recalled how the 1954 winter and summer seasons were bountiful. During that season, they produced a variety of crops, ranging from wheat to brown and sugar beans, potatoes and maize, and from that year onwards, they started to sell produce locally from a stall. On a few occasions, some of the crops were sent to a market in the town of Qala. Although the officials of the Bantu Administration Department had stepped up the pressure for the introduction and extension of rehabilitation schemes, which would soon become betterment planning, the Bunga or District Council still dealt with many agrarian and rural development-related activities in Qala, among them agricultural shows and the creation of dams and roads between the villages. Such shows had triggered healthy competition between the few surviving peasant families and communities, since participants were offered center stage to showcase their produce. In the seasons of 1954 to 1957, Tio began to win in a few categories of crops. Lumkile took pride in what his father accomplished. He recalls that his household was highly regarded in farming matters. At just about that time, as he finished Standard 3 at the Apaqala Primary School at the end of 1955, a different chapter of the socialization process began to unfold for him. Further education would connect him strongly to the home of his paternal grandparents, which he had longed to visit. The legacy of the Nkuhlu family in Mbulukweza, 1956 to 1958. Lumkile reminisces with affection about 1956, the year he connected to the rich Nkuhlu legacy and learned more about his paternal grandparents. He was initially under the impression that he was sent by his parents to his father's original village of Mbulukezwa in Tsomo to continue with senior primary schooling. His intuition was partly correct because he had reached the last class at the Apaqala Lower Primary School in 1955 and had to find another place of schooling elsewhere. His parents chose the Mbulukweza Primary School, where his grandfather, Willie, had once schooled in the later decades of the 1800s. That pedigree alone was enough for Lumkile. In reality, though, Dio and Jane did not only send Lumkile there to school. It was also a link to the land of his forefathers and principally the home of his grandparents, Willie and Makambula. Before them, his great-grandfather, Bikani, had once strolled on the grounds of the Mbulu Presbyterian Church that also established the senior primary school in the area. For Lumkile, Mbulukweza offered the best opportunity to learn more about the Nkuhlu family legacy and even get to know members of the extended family. It offered prospects for good schooling under the vigilant but generous tutelage of Makambula, his grandmother, now a retired widow but once a qualified teacher. The village of Mbulukweza itself was also home to many of the Nkuhlus, most of whom were siblings of Lumkile's father, Dio. Lumkile was immediately surrounded by cousins, aunts, and uncles, in addition to his grandmother. One of these aunts, Nomanjeya, the younger sister of Dio, was also a qualified teacher who taught at the Mbulukweza Primary School. She took a particular interest in Lumkile's schoolwork. In spite of being given special treatment by Makambula, as he was her first male grandchild, Lumkile's induction to the new home environment was difficult. For a start, because of its remote location, to reach Mbulukweza from the town of Tsomo meant a long-distance walk of about 35 kilometers, which took more than half a day to complete. Arrangements for him to be escorted to Mbulukweza from the bus station in Tsomo were only made on his first day. After that, he walked on his own.
That was another episode of A Life of Purpose, second edition, written by Luvuyo Wachela and Lumkile Wiseman Kuhlu. The book is available online on www.kmmr.co.za, KMMR Publishers, and in all leading bookstores countrywide. It is broadcast on SAFM at 11:45 Monday to Thursday on The Talking Point. It is produced for the station by Vovi Patala, read by Lerato Mvelase, technical production Wiseman Manwele and Nanda Koza.
SAFM, leading the conversations that move us.
It is alleged that the Libyans have been in the base since April.
So how long have police intelligence been aware of this facility?
To be frank with you, at this moment, it's something that also during the visit by the minister has indicated that cannot share much on the things besides the information that was received by the intelligence structure. There were other information from members of the community.
Wow, a security camp used for military training. Why are foreign nationals being trained in security or guerrilla warfare or whatever it is in South Africa? If South Africans were in another country being trained for those purposes, my word, they would be regarded as terrorists, it would be treason, they'd probably be locked up by those countries and everything.
Update at noon with Sakina Kamwendo, midday to 1 p.m.
12 o'clock on Wednesday, the 21st of August 2024. Very warm welcome to Update at Noon here on SAFM, leading the conversation. I'm Sakina Kamwendo. Coming up in the next hour.
Your departure will leave a profound void in the judiciary and will be deeply felt by all of us who have had the privilege of working closely with you. We will miss you.
Oh, still underway, the Constitutional Court bidding farewell to outgoing Chief Justice Raymond Zondo and...
See, his limited, narrow view of the world made him feel threatened by the existence of two hard-working, highly educated, successful people who happen to be black.
And former U.S. First Lady Michelle Obama tore into Republican presidential candidate Donald Trump at the Democratic National Convention held in Chicago. Coming up in sport.
Proteas prepare for the White Ball Series against the West Indies. A couple of stalwarts left behind by the All Blacks. And if you've been missing the athletics at the Olympics, I've got details of something for you tomorrow.
Tomorrow? Okay, you'll tell us more about what we can expect tomorrow. That's John Khirika. He'll be back with some sports news later in the show. Please share your views with us, 41391. That's the SMS line number, charged at 150 per SMS. Can also write to us via X or Facebook at SABC News_radio or using the hashtag #UpdatedNoon. Alternatively, there's our WhatsApp voice note number where you can send us your voice notes, 0826923909. Well, these and more stories coming up on this Wednesday edition of Updated Noon. First, though, here's the latest news with Cathy Mohlahlana.
Thank you very much, SK. The top stories this hour: prices hit their lowest levels in 3 years and over 1,000 judges on strike in Mexico. A very good afternoon. Consumers are in for some much-needed relief as prices drop to their lowest level in 3 years. Stats SA says the consumer price inflation slowed down from 5.1% in June to 4.6% in July. Contributions to the decrease came from food and non-alcoholic beverages, as well as transport, housing, and utilities. Chief economist at Investec, Annabelle Bishop, says the Reserve Bank may be encouraged to cut interest rates from next month.
We'll likely see the Reserve Bank's MPC tone soften, although remain cautious on the inflation outlook. However, inflation is now very close to the 4.5% midpoint of the inflation target range and could well give the South African Reserve Bank confidence to cut interest rates by 25 basis points in September, the next MPC meeting. July sees utility costs surveyed, water, electricity rates and taxes, and of course the electricity price increase this year was lower than that last year, while we also saw a significant cut in fuel prices and of course as well some moderation in the residual, all of which contributed towards a lower outcome for CPI inflation.
Doctors' private offices in Mthatha in the Eastern Cape are also targets for extortion syndicates. It is alleged that syndicates in the area are demanding protection fees from businesses, schools, and healthcare facilities. The National Police Commissioner has announced that more police officers have been deployed to the area to deal with the extortion problem. The Eastern Cape Business Chamber says that if extortion is allowed to continue unabated, then Mthatha is in danger of becoming a ghost town. The Chamber's president, Vuyisile Ntlabati.
The implication is that Mthatha will soon become a ghost town because now it's going to be expensive. You will remember that these young doctors, specialists, they are coming, they are born here. They wanted to plow back at home. Now it is going to be very difficult and expensive for some of us to go outside and get help, whereas help was supposed to be near.
The former mine executive and Transnet board chair, Andile Sangu, says the tragedy in which police gunned down 34 mine workers in Marikana in the northwest is an indication of serious power imbalances among stakeholders. The mine workers were killed on August 16th in 2012. Before the tragedy, 10 other people were killed in Marikana. Sangu delivered a virtual 5th annual Marikana commemoration lecture hosted by the Lonmin Platinum mine owner, Sibanye Stillwater.
The historical learnings of this painful chapter should be our guiding light on the urgency to refashion stakeholder engagements and on how to recalibrate the working of these relationships. Shared value is what must be the focus of the short, medium and long term of these relationships.
Sibanye Stillwater's Neil Froneman highlighted the importance of a socio-economic development strategy focusing on transforming communities in which they operate.
As a company, we needed to set aside differences and engage. For the Marikana renewal process, this meant engaging a third party to help support the process to give voices to the unvoiced and unheard, and it needed to gather the coalition of the willing.
And over 1,000 judges and magistrates in Mexico have joined an indefinite legal workers' strike. The action, launched on Monday, is against proposed reforms to the judiciary. The government wants to replace all judges with ones elected by popular vote. Mexico's outgoing president has called the strike unprotected. Marco Polos Rosas is a federal magistrate taking part in the strike.
I'm very happy that 1,200 judges and magistrates have joined in. I'm also very happy that most of the workers are taking part, because in a way it means they didn't give in to the promise that the authorities would respect our labour rights. We know what's at stake is not money. What is at stake is a mission and a vocation.
The top story this hour: consumers are in for some much-needed relief as prices drop to their lowest levels in 3 years. For SAFM News, Cathy Mohlahlana.
Update at noon with Sakina Kamwendo, midday to 1 p.m. Update at noon with Sakina Kamwendo.
A very good afternoon, everybody. Thanks so much, Madupi. He'll be back with your headlines at 12:30. It's 7 minutes after 12, and quite a few stories that we're keeping an eye on. Some of those in the courts, of course, where we are also going to bring you updates on what the outcomes were in some of these shorter visits in some of these court stories. Also, there's a special sitting for the farewell of retiring Chief Justice Raymond Zondo. It is currently underway, and we will, at the point where he gives his farewell speech, try to dip in, of course, if it is within the time that we are still on air. And that, of course, because there are quite a number of organizations and speakers who are there to pay tribute to the outgoing Chief Justice Raymond Zondo. And I can tell you, speaking currently is the Minister of Justice, Thembi Simelane, and she is currently speaking. So that's sitting underway. We'll bring you up to speed in a short while. Also watching what's happening in the courts, and as I had indicated, 10 MK members, there was an update there, so we'll bring that to you shortly. And we continue to focus on what's happening regarding extortion in the Eastern Cape and in the town of Umtata in particular. And there's also some movement in Parliament, a briefing by the Department of Public Works and Infrastructure on the rebuilding project of the parliamentary precinct. So that started a while ago. And we're also going to try and bring you more on a very tragic story. We might not be able to today. A family still waiting 3 years later to bury a loved one. And earlier our reporter was on his way to that particular venue, and we'll try and see if our reporter has reached, and if so, we'll be able to speak to the family about this horrific ordeal. And still in Parliament, the SABC is also there. They will be briefing members of Parliament of the Portfolio Committee on Communications on the entity's challenges, opportunities and mandate as part of Parliament's induction process for members of Parliament. So those are some of the stories, and we will try and see how many of those we can actually update you on.
Update at noon, midday to 1 p.m.
Humility, integrity, intelligence, empathy, and impartiality are but some of the words that have been used to describe the outgoing Chief Justice Raymond Zondo. And this as members of the judiciary have gathered at the Constitutional Court in honor of Chief Justice Zondo, who is being showered with well wishes as he prepares to retire at the end of this month. Chief Justice Designate Mandi Samaya says that Zondo has served the country and the judiciary exceptionally well during his tenure.
As can be expected, the role of Chief Justice is most challenging and demanding. This is particularly so in a developing constitutional democracy such as ours, with a myriad challenges with which we are all familiar. In addition to the usual qualities required of a judge, integrity, intelligence, impartiality, humility, empathy, an unwavering resolve and focus on protecting the Constitution and the rule of law, among many others, The position requires one with firm leadership and management skills. Chief Justice Zondo consistently proved that he possesses these qualities and many more. During his long tenure in judicial leadership, 17 years now, he played an important role in the crafting of a clear roadmap for a transformed, diverse judiciary that prioritizes the efficient, accessible, and transparent delivery of justice to all the citizens of South Africa. And his significant contributions extended beyond his judicial role from the early days of democracy. He served in 2 committees of the Commission of Inquiry regarding the prevention of public violence and intimidation, better known as the Goldstone Commission in the early 90s. In recent years, he chaired the Critical Commission into allegations of state capture, corruption and fraud in the public sector, including organs of state, better known as the State Capture Commission, and notably a number of the recommendations made by that commission were accepted by the President. Under his leadership, Chief Justice Zondo actively promoted gender transformation in the judiciary. During his brief tenure as the chairperson of the Judicial Service Commission, he supported the appointment of more women to the bench and the elevation of women judges to leadership positions within the institution, and those women including me. He did not stop there and also promoted mentorship and training programs aimed at advancing and empowering female judges and lawyers. Recently, the South African Judicial Education Institute, under his stewardship, resuscitated a highly successful program that was originally conceived by the South African chapter of the International Association of Women Judges and former Minister of Justice, Minister Bridget Mabandla. The Aspirant Women Judges Program now aptly renamed the Bridget Mabandla Aspirant Women Judges Program. This important program, which was unfortunately neglected and allowed to die after Mayor Mabandla left the Justice Ministry, is aimed at enhancing women's representation within the judiciary by providing a platform for aspiring female judges to develop their skills and expertise. Chief Justice Zondo heard the cry to bring it back, to assist in the quest to achieve gender equality. But that does not surprise those who know him. He is one of the first judges president to make a real effort to bring women into the judiciary by inviting them to act as judges and get permanent appointment in the courts they headed. The Organization of Women Judges and Magistrates, the South African chapter of the International Association of Women Judges, has greatly benefited from his consistent, generous support, encouragement, and visible endorsement of its initiatives and programs which aim at the protection and promotion of the rights of women and girls. These contributions all demonstrate Chief Justice Zondo's strong commitment to upholding the rule of law, advancing social justice, and protecting human rights for the betterment of our society. And they are only highlights of what this remarkable South African has done to show for his life. We are sad to bid you farewell, Chief Justice. Your departure will leave a profound void in the judiciary and will be deeply felt by all of us who have had the privilege of working closely with you. We will miss you. But as the old African adage goes, we need to part, and now we must let you go home to your dear wife and children, whom we owe a huge debt of gratitude for so generously sharing their precious time with you, with the nation. Please accept our warmest congratulations for reaching this incredible milestone in your life and career. May this golden chapter be a season of joy and good health. Siyabonga kakhulu ngakho konke sohlaza. Ndlela nhle.
And that was Chief Justice Designate Mandisa Maya. And I can tell you at the moment, the messages are still being delivered. Currently, it is the Speaker of the National Assembly, Togo Didiza, who is giving her farewell speech. And we are monitoring this. We will come back to it. But let's just bring you up to speed with a few other stories in the meantime.
Update at noon, midday to 1 p.m.
Now, former United States President Barack Obama, together with former First Lady Michelle Obama, have hit back at Republican presidential candidate Donald Trump, criticizing his character and racist attacks that have targeted her and her husband Barack in the past. The pair were speaking at the Democratic National Convention, currently ongoing in Chicago, where they placed their weight behind Kamala Harris in their 11th hour presidential bid against Trump. Harris seeks to make history this November the 5th as the first woman and first black South Asian person to be elected U.S. president. Michelle Obama says that Trump has a limited, narrow view of the world.
Of the two major candidates in this race, only Kamala Harris truly understands the unseen labor and unwavering commitment that has always made America great. Now, unfortunately, we know what comes next. We know folks are going to do everything they can to distort her truth. My husband and I sadly know a little something about this. For years, Donald Trump did everything in his power to try to make people fear us. See, his limited, narrow view of the world made him feel threatened by the existence of two hard-working, highly educated, successful people who happen to be black. Wait. I want to know. Who's going to tell him? Who's going to tell him that the job he's currently seeking might just be one of those black jobs? It's his same old con. His same old con. Doubling down on ugly, misogynistic, racist lies as a substitute for real ideas and solutions that will actually make people's lives better.
And that was U.S. former First Lady Michelle Obama. Meanwhile, her husband, Barack Obama, says that Harris is ready and capable of serving the American people.
Kamala knows that if we want to help people get ahead, we need to put a college degree within reach of more Americans. But she also knows college shouldn't be the only ticket to the middle class. We need to follow the lead of governors like Tim Walz, who said, if you've got the skills and the drive, you shouldn't need a degree to work for state government. And in this new economy, we need a president who actually cares about the millions of people all across this country who wake up every single day to do the essential, often thankless work, to care for our sick, to clean our streets, to deliver our packages. We need a president who will stand up for their right to bargain for better wages and working conditions. And Kamala will be that president. Yes, she can. Yes, she can. A Harris-Walz administration can help us move past some of the tired old debates that keep stifling progress Because at their core, Kamala and Tim understand that when everybody gets a fair shot, we are all better off. They understand that when every child gets a good education, the whole economy gets stronger. When women are paid the same as men for doing the same job, all families benefit.
And that was former U.S. President Barack Obama, and both those clips were from the Reuters news agency.
Sakina Kamwendo on SAFM.
Now, Abatebu King Buyelekaya Dalindyebo has ordered schools that were forced to close due to incidents of extortion, among others, in Umtata and surroundings to be reopened. And this follows various reports of businesses resorting to closing shop in order to avoid a monthly protection fee that is being demanded by local gang rings. Now, in addition, 4 schools in the area have also become the latest victims of intimidation. And King Dalindyebo has since strongly condemned these incidents and called on law enforcement agencies to tighten their grip on criminal elements. A spokesperson for King Dalindyebo, Princess Ntando Dalindyebo, now joins us on the line for further details. Princess Dalindyebo, thanks for your time. Welcome to Update at Noon.
Yes, hello. Thank you so much for having me.
So firstly, if you would just speak to us about King Dalindyebo's sentiments in relation to what has been happening in the Umtata area.
Oh, the situation that's been going on is very bad, ma'am, because we've known about it for quite some time. He has been going back and forth with the perpetrators in court, but it really took its last straw when we had people from the district office, people from Satu, people from Naptosa who came here early in the morning on a Saturday, and they said they have this problem. There are children who are not in school because of extortion. In one of the schools, the principal was physically assaulted and thrown with an account number, and they said, put money in this account. Then the principal left the school. In other schools, they were being held accountable for having projects that are being held at the school. For example, at Efata, they were having a project, pure water tanks, and it stopped because they were demanding money from the engineer, saying, Ikomkhulu needs to get from this project. In a lot of them, in another school, they took over the school hall where the school usually has its morning announcements and prayers and everything. And then businesses as well. There's a woman who yesterday said all she does is braid people's hair, and that's her way of making a living. But now she's being asked for a protection fee. How can she afford a protection fee when she can barely afford to get by?
So very interesting what you've just mentioned about the schools in particular, because I spoke to the National Police Commissioner General Cathy Mohlahlana this morning, and he seemed to have a different view of what was happening with regard to schools, very different from what you are relating to us now, because there he seemed to be under the impression that there was some sort of rift that has taken place between a chief in the area and Induna. I don't know what the story is exactly as he put it, but it didn't, according to what he had understood, have anything to do with extortion. But you are saying it does.
Oh, it does, because what happened is the chief is self-proclaimed. He was picked by the people, and obviously a chief is not picked by the people, a chief is born. So he was picked by the people, and then he goes to tell them that he went to the school, the one where he sees the hall. He said, Ikomkhulu liyaifuna eli hall. He didn't say it himself, but he sent people. And now, after yesterday's meeting, he sends out a message telling people that because you didn't show me support when the king was saying this and this and that, show me support by giving me 100 rand so I can take him to court. Show me support now because you picked me. That's intimidation.
So one of the things that the police commissioner was also lamenting is the fact that people are not coming forward, and it becomes difficult for the police to actually build a case that they can take to court. So in this instance, what was the discussion yesterday with the community regarding the intervention from the police, but also moving forward so as to, find a way past this problem?
For the longest time, the people didn't have trust in the police. They have this impression or idea that they are policemen working with the people that are guilty of extortion. But yesterday, their presence did cement some sort of trust in them. They did say, the police did mention to them that this is a very important case, and if they do want it to be solved, they need to come forward with the statements and the affidavits that they need, and they need to be able to testify, because they do go to the police, the people are reported, and when the police arrest the person, they are too afraid to come forward and testify for a concrete case to be built. So this is the time to understand that it's not the time to be afraid. They need to tear their part in making sure that these people are kept behind bars.
But how do you bring that across to people who are intimidated, where people come up to them and demand this money and threaten them? Because it's easy to say that they should actually come forward and open cases when you are not the one directly in harm's way. So how then would there be assistance for people that would make it easier for them to do this?
At the moment, as we're speaking right now, the police are doing patrols in that area. There's no one who's going to be intimidated and be ignored for that. The police have been going there. We've also been working with the Taxi Association. They've also been doing their part. We are trying to make sure that the people are going to be safe for what they're trying to do. Their safety is our number one priority, along with, of course, making sure that the kids continue going to school. But we do need the help of the government side, like the politicians, our mayors. We do need their help so that they can help beef up the security that we are trying to provide for the people.
And of course, how does the royal family see its role in assisting here? Because many people feel that it's because of moral, degeneration that we are actually seeing the sort of things that is happening in our society.
No, it is, because the royal family is very involved in this matter, because this is somebody who is claiming to be royal. This is somebody who's claiming to have a royal status in the community. And this, in the town that we live in, culture is very important. So they are trying as much as they can not to disrespect tradition. That's why they had to come to the king directly and say, this person is saying, "Uyinkosi yakho." How do we say no to such things? That's why he had to clear it up yesterday. He had to tell them that I don't have a chief that will be treating people like this.
Well, we'll keep an eye on these developments, but thank you so much for speaking to us there, Princess. This is Princess Dalindyebo, who is speaking there. She was also in that meeting yesterday that was called by Abatembu King Buyelekaya Dalindyebo and Princess Ntando Dalindyebo, just relating to us what came out of that and, of course, what the potential way forward may be. Right, we have about a minute. Let's squeeze in a voice note or two before we get to headlines.
Good day, Sakina and SFM listener. Sakina, you must bring officials from the Department of Labor to explain this, man. Sakina, we are not getting our claims. We were working under ZEP. We contributed this fund. 10 years I was contributing to this fund. I submitted my claim after I was dismissed for misconduct at my workplace on the 6th of September 2023. I went to check yesterday. I was told I must come back to check 20 April 2025. Now the banks are going to switch our accounts in December 2024. How is it going to work? Government must explain, or else people must go the way again to court, to take the Department of Labor to court.
SK, it's Chris in Durban. The report on perennial crime in the Eastern Cape, particularly in Umtata, is worrisome. So why was Peggy Cele showing us all these thoughts? How do they use them in terms of planning? It really shows that we need to beef up our capacity in the state institution, especially how to use data in order of planning for prevention of crimes. This is really an indictment on his reign over these years. This is a shame on Pekicel.
So we'll leave it. Thanks so much for your contributions there. Please keep them coming. We'll create another space where we can listen to your voice notes and read your messages. But for now, it's 12:30. Here's Modupi Mohlahlana with your latest headlines.
Thank you very much, SK, and a very good afternoon. In your headlines this hour, Chief Justice Designate Mandisa Maya has hailed the outgoing Chief Justice Raymond Zondo for his commitment in championing gender equality in the judiciary. Consumers are in for some much-needed relief as the prices drop to their lowest levels in 3 years. And a major study has shown that eating processed meat can significantly increase the risk of developing type 2 diabetes. Those are your headlines. A full update, 1 o'clock.
Economic news on SAFM. Facts and figures you can count on.
Well, it's a Wednesday, so we have Ricardo Smith with us. Ricardo is Chief Investment Officer at ABSA Global Investment Solutions, Stockbrokers and Portfolio Management. Good afternoon, Ricardo. Okay, we don't seem to have Ricardo, so we'll just try and see if Simpiwe is available. He's also with ABSA Investment, so let's see if Simpiwe Letlojane is available to do the analysis for us today. In the meantime, we will bring you up to speed with what's happening in the courts, and I can tell you that the tributes in that special sitting for outgoing Chief Justice Raymond Zondo are ongoing, and as soon as he starts to give his speech, if it's during our time channel, we will take you there. All right, we are now going to go back, and we have Simpiwe Letlojane from ABSA. Good afternoon, Simpiwe.
Good afternoon, Sakina. Seeing our local markets in positive territory today, they are up about 0.4%. Seeing the all share reaching record high levels, so it's breaching the 84,000 point mark, so currently trading above that level. Seeing financials leading today, they're up about 0.7%. Industrials up about 0.4%. Whereas in resources are a little bit under pressure, they're down 0.4%. Year-to-date performance on our local markets has improved quite significantly. We're seeing double-digit returns on a total return basis year-to-date, driven by strong double-digit returns from financials and high single-digit returns from industrials and financials. We're seeing the rand anchored, close to the 18 USD ZAR mark, and in fact, still trading below that level. And then from a macroeconomic point of view, we just saw inflation easing to 4.6% year on year, from 5.1% in the previous month. So inflation moving close to that 4.5% target by the MPC, and we can sort of expect further easing going forward, particularly with the rand strength that we've seen, which should bode well for currency-induced inflation. And this print does put quite a strong case for the MPC to consider interest rate cuts, as inflation has been range bound and now moving closer to the 4.5% target that the MPC wants inflation to be anchored around. On local news, as far as companies are concerned, we did see Sasol releasing their earnings, so full year earnings for 2024. They did record a decline in revenue of about 5%, and actually recorded an earnings loss per share. And then when we're looking at revenue, we're seeing declines across most of the major segments, namely energy, gas, and chemicals. And then from a bottom line perspective, mainly being impacted by impairments relating to some of the American operations, as well as some operations within Africa, and then locally some of the Secunda liquid fuels refineries also seeing some impairments there. And then of course the share has been under pressure because we did see the company declaring that they won't be paying a dividend. So saw a bit of share price pressure yesterday, and of course on a year-to-date basis the share has also been essentially down more than 20%. Elsewhere in the globe, we're seeing European markets in the green, while Asian markets are trading slightly under pressure when you're looking at the Hang Seng and the Shanghai today. And then, of course, we did see US markets closing moderately lower yesterday. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Simpiwe. Simpiwe Letlojane is with APSA, and we're going to take a quick break. In fact, not, because John's here. Let's get you some sports news.
SAFM Sport with John Gerika.
I figured I'd give you a break.
Thanks, man. Thank you. Let's start with football. Bafana coach Hugo Bruce has named his 38-man provisional squad for the upcoming Africa Cup of Nations qualifiers. South Africa is set to take on Uganda on the 6th of September, followed by South Sudan on the 10th. Bruce included Vitesse's Netherlands-born forward Simon van Devenborden, who could make his Bafana debut if he makes the cut. Also included Kaizer Chiefs defender Rushwin Dortley, together with Luke Leroux and Mihlali Mayambela, who returned to the national side. With Premiership players dominating Bruce's squad, the Belgians will be hoping that the late delay to the start won't affect their match fitness. Now, the Proteas take on the West Indies in the first of 3 T20s. That starts on Friday. South Africa missed out on a win at the World Cup in the Caribbean earlier this year. The Windies have also dominated South Africa lately in the short format with 4 out of 5 wins, something Captain Aiden Markram would like to change.
It would be fantastic to get a series win, of course, and get one back, absolutely. Like I mentioned earlier, though, you try to look at things from a bigger picture point of view, and it's a series for us where guys are going to get a taste of international cricket and be able to grow from there. By no means am I saying we're not here to win. Of course, we are here to win, but you look at each series for sort of in the position that you're in, and take as much as you can from it. Sometimes the win is everything, but on other occasions, I think you look at the growth, you look at the development, growing of our options as a squad from a selection point of view, and a lot of good can still come out of a series that might not go your way, but definitely keen to get one back. They've been doing well against us recently, so I'm sure we'll be pretty up for it.
It worries me when a captain says that. Right, on to Test cricket. There are 2 tests on the go. First test between Pakistan and Bangladesh was delayed due to a wet outfield. Only 48 overs going to be bowled today. Pakistan in trouble at 21 for 3 early on. And Sri Lanka have started against England. Sri Lanka choosing to bat first in the first test in Manchester. Sri Lanka 6 for the loss of 1. Sri Lanka haven't beaten England in a test since 2014. In rugby news, New Zealand lock Patrick Tuipulotu and fullback Stephen Perofeta will miss the tour of South Africa with injury, according to the All Blacks. Waikato Chiefs lock Josh Lord and Auckland Blues back Harry Plummer will stay with the squad as cover for the injured pair. Here's an interesting story. Men's world number 1 tennis player Yannick Sinner escaped a lengthy ban after he failed 2 drug tests in March. He's been cleared of fault or negligence. An independent tribunal accepted his explanation that the contamination of the banned substance happened when a member of his support team applied an over-the-counter spray-on treatment. World Anti-Doping could appeal it, though. But let's get more from tennis reporter Chris McCrendy.
Giancomo, the physio, cut his finger. Ferreira, the trainer, treated it with an antiseptic spray. It's an over-the-counter spray available in Italy, but it did contain an anabolic steroid, Prostobol, that's on the banned list. Yannick then was worked on by the physio. Traces of this anabolic steroid were found in his system immediately. Yannick's team went to sports resolution. The team cooperated. Everyone gave extensive interviews, and on 2 occasions, both tribunals said it's understandable. He can continue to play.
Sounds fishy. All right, pole vaulter Armand Duplantis and 200-meter Olympic champion Letsile Tebogo headline the first Diamond League meeting since the end of the Paris Games. Some 18 current Olympic or world champions will be present in Lausanne for tomorrow's meet, coming just 12 days after the last of the track and field action in France. Duplantis defended his gold medal in France's National Stadium and improved his own world pole vaulting record, 6.25 meters, and Tebogo will race the 200 meters on Thursday. They eventually won in Paris when he outstripped the COVID-hit Noah Lyles. Tour of Spain yesterday, Primož Roglic has taken over the lead. He leads Joao Almeida by 8 seconds. Enric Mas is 32 seconds back. Today, another one for the fast men over 177 kilometers. It's flat as a pancake towards the end. And finally, another interesting story. Sports Minister Gayton McKenzie has expressed his intention to invite openly racist boxer Ryan Garcia to South Africa as a special guest for Dricus du Plessis' next title fight. Last month, Garcia was expelled by the WBC for using racial slurs against black people people and Muslims on social media. Before that, 26-year-old also suspended by the New York State Athletic Commission for a year after he tested positive for banned substances during his last fight against Devin Haney. Garcia is also openly homophobic and transphobic, has a multitude of offensive tweets, and Mackenzie invited him because it seems that Garcia suggested he was betting a lot of money on Drickus in the fight that happened this weekend.
Wow.
That's your sports.
Catch the Tastemaster Junior this Tuesday evening at 7 on SABC2 as the top 8 take on a new challenge. This week, they delve into the world of social media and learn what it takes for a recipe video to go viral online. Working together, they must create their own unique version of a famous social media bake. That's the Tastemaster Junior this Tuesday at 7, repeat Wednesdays at 1 and Sundays at 4 p.m. only on SABC2.
For credible and comprehensive coverage of South Africa's fast-moving mining industry and the people shaping it, click through to Creamer Media's Mining Weekly. From policy and innovation to market-moving trends, Creamer Media's Mining Weekly keeps your finger on the resources pulse. For even deeper insight, subscribe to our New Look weekly magazine, out every Friday, together with engineering news. Creamer Media's Mining Weekly. Current, credible, comprehensive.
Our Tugs have a great plan to illustrate that they are not just intelligent students in class, but on the field of play as well. Meanwhile, Little Zuma-based outfit want nothing except for 3 points to run away from the unpleasant zone. The capital city confronts eThekwini. This is the Hollywood Bet Super League. Catch the Mzansi Queens of the beautiful game. University of Pretoria Ladies FC versus Lindelani Ladies FC on Sunday 25 August at 11 a.m. Live on SABC Sport on DTT Channel 4. Also available at your fingertips on SABC Plus and SABCSport.com. Hashtag We Love It Here. Brought to you by SABC Sport. For the love of the game.
Update at noon, midday to 1 p.m.
Well, we are quickly going to take you now to that special sitting for outgoing Chief Justice Raymond Zondo, who will hang up his robes at the end of this month.
Who spoke. And I thank the Minister as a representative of the Executive for her speech, as well as the Speaker of Parliament. I thank all of you. We do not have the time for me to say even one or two things that each and every one of you said. But I just want you to know that I really appreciate everything that you have said. I used yesterday, last night, to mainly thank people who have been in my life, who have supported me, who have helped me to be where I am. Without going through the names, I repeat that because, as I said yesterday, it was not simply me alone. It was not my hard work alone. It was because there were so many people who supported me for me to reach the heights that I did. But this morning, I also want to say thank you to this country for being so kind to me. Indeed, South Africa is a country of great possibilities. It is a country where somebody can be in prison for 27 years and come out of that to be president of the country. Indeed, it is a country where somebody without any formal education can rise to be the president of the country. Indeed, it is a country where a boy from a rural village who fetched firewoods from the forest, put them on his heads to take them home to the family, for the family to make fire and cook. A boy who fetched water from the spring, put a bucket of water on the head, climbed a hill to take it to the family home so that the family could cook and wash. A boy who looked after goats and cattle, who engaged in stick fighting with other boys. A boy raised singly by a single parent, a great woman, as a resilient woman, can rise and become ultimately the Chief Justice of this country. I'm very much aware that it's not only me, because I know that the Chief Justice I succeeded came from just as humble beginnings. Chief Justice Mohlahlana. He told those who were at the dinner last night how poor he, Justice Madondo, and I were at University of Zululand in the early 80s. He said, you could just see us. Anyone who saw us could just see that these are very poor. He used to use a different term in the past, namely that poverty was written on our foreheads. He used to wear overalls for most of the time. And that was really not because he liked overalls, but that was part of the poverty. That's what I think he got from his father. He too rose from those humble beginnings to be Chief Justice of this country. And he led the judiciary with great distinction for 10 years under very difficult circumstances. And I do want to take this opportunity to acknowledge his outstanding leadership for the judiciary during those 10 years, because we never got an opportunity to give him a proper send-off because he chose that we shouldn't do it. The contribution he made for the judiciary in building the judiciary is immense. The structures he put in place continue to operate. And many of those who are present here and those following on the virtual platform will never forget his Nkandla judgment, which, in my view and the view of many, helped to stop the country as it was sliding further down. I want to thank former Chief Justice Mohlahlana and his wife for the extraordinary support they have given me over many years. Thank you very much. Words are not enough to describe the kind of support you have given me throughout. So thank you very much. But I want also to say that when I say this country has been very kind to me, in part it is because over my 27 years on the bench, there is no president of this country who served at least a full term who did not appoint me to some or other position. All of them, without exception, who served at least one term, appointed me. President Mandela appointed me as a judge of the Labour Court and also appointed me as a judge of what used to be called the Transvaal Provincial Division of the High Court. President Mbeki appointed me as Judge President of the Labour Appeal Court and Labour Court. President Zuma appointed me as a Justice of the Constitutional Court and subsequently as Deputy Chief Justice. I don't know how happy he is about that. And President Ramaphosa appointed me as Chief Justice. Oh, President Zuma also appointed me as Chairperson of the State Capture Commission. So all the presidents have appointed me at some stage or another to some position. I thank President Ramaphosa for having had confidence in me that I would be able to lead the judiciary properly. It's an extraordinary opportunity that I was given to serve as the head of one of the arms of the state. My term of office was short. I wish, of course, it was longer. But our constitution and jurisprudence is clear that there may be no extension of the term of office as Chief Justice. But I'm very grateful to have been given this opportunity to serve in this country as Chief Justice. I want to thank the heads of courts for their support during these 2.5 years. I want to thank my colleagues on the Constitutional Court for their support as well. I want to thank the JSC for the cooperation that we had in working together after the 2022 interviews. We were able to work very well despite what may have happened at the interviews. Everybody was respectful and courteous and cooperative. And we made the progress that we made, which has been referred to. During my term of office, I've sought to uphold the Constitution. I've sought to uphold the rule of law. I've sought to fight for the independence of the judiciary. Throughout that time, I've been very clear in my own mind that it was my duty to do so. Even if it caused me enemies in the process. When one chooses to accept appointment as a judicial officer, whether magistrate or judge, one has got to appreciate the honor that goes with that. The honor that you are made one of those that society says you are one of those who are going to tell us when we get out of line in terms of the Constitution and the law. From the poorest to the richest, from the powerless to the most powerful. And that, as members of the judiciary, we should never compromise. The confidence in which the society displays in us as the judiciary, or the confidence that they have in us as the judiciary, is earned by ensuring that we uphold the Constitution. We stick to performing our duties in accordance with our oath of office, no matter what.
And that is Chief Justice Raymond Zondo reflecting on his role as Chief Justice, as we know that his tenure will come to an end at the end of this month. And it's still, of course, ongoing, but unfortunately, that's all our time. And we'll do this again tomorrow. Please be safe. Take care until then. Thanks to the production team and thanks to everyone for tuning in, listening, and sending your messages. Here's Cathy Mohlahlana with your news at 1.
SK. The top stories at 1, a special ceremonial setting for outgoing Chief Justice and prices to hit their lowest levels in 3 years. A very good afternoon. Chief Justice designate Mandisa Maya has hailed the outgoing Chief Justice Raymond Zondo for his commitment in championing gender equality in the judiciary. Since his appointment in 2022, women have been elevated to the positions of Judge President of the KZN and Mpumalanga divisions, as well as the President of the Supreme Court of Appeal. Zondo also resuscitated the Bridget Mawandla Aspirant Judges Program, which seeks to provide training to prospective women judges. Maya was speaking at the Constitutional Court for the special ceremonial setting to honor Zondo as he prepares to retire at the end of this month.
Under his leadership, Chief Justice Zondo actively promoted gender transformation in the judiciary. During his brief tenure as the chairperson of the Judicial Service Commission, he supported the appointment of more women to the bench and the elevation of women judges to leadership positions within the institution, and those women including me. He did not stop